All right, it is 6:30 and we're ready to start. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, first up, we have our student representatives.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. This is fantastic. So I think I had told you that we're going to have something right before, but clearly we didn't, other than the Pledge of Allegiance. So you're on, you're here. We're so thankful that you're here. This is your opportunity to share with the board who you are, and then with the board, could you also share who you are in the area that you represent? And just like we're asking them, I've asked them, like, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? And so we'll save that for the end. So, okay. And I haven't really thought about how we want to do this. As far as we start with our senior, or do we go with our sophomore? So because you just rolled in, I think we'll start Jocelyn with you, if you're good with that. So yeah, so introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about who you are, why you want to be in this position, and also mention what your schedule is.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay. So my name is Jocelyn Guajardo. I'm a senior at Washougal High School this year. Starting with my schedule, first period I have AP Literature. Second period I have TA for special needs students in my class. I help with ASL. Third period I have baking class. Fourth period I have AP Government and Politics. Fifth period I have Personal Finance, and the sixth period I do worksite learning for a business that I started with my mom. I hold office as the Washougal High School Ambassador President. I've been part of the program for about 4 years now, and I've worked heavily in community engagement. We do a lot of presentations, go throughout Washington, go throughout Oregon. I work a lot with Unite Washougal, so I do a lot of drug take-back events, things like that. I work closely with Betty Gable and Margaret McCarthy and Xander Cook. So it's really cool that I get to do this kind of work that I do, and I think that bridges into why I think it's so important to be a student representative, getting youth voice out. And I think that understanding what is happening directly in a school versus hearing things hearsay is a big deal. And I think that as student representatives, I think it's a big part of us being able to help with that vision. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you guys for this opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Jacob, yes.
My name is Jacob Larselier. You can call me Jake, though. My schedule is first period junior English, second period Earth and Space Sciences, third period AP United States History, fourth period yearbook, fifth period I have Woods 2, and sixth period I have pre-calc. I do a couple different things. I do Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA, and that kind of ties into Washougal Co., which is the student store for like merch and stuff. You've probably seen them at games and stuff. And then they also work alongside Walk to End Alzheimer's, so we do a lot of work helping them put on events. Besides that, I'm in Peer Connections, which is a club that focuses on kind of building that bridge between students who are more socially out there and to the students who aren't, so that they have a support system and good friends at the school. And I think that's super important. And lastly, I'm the city council student representative as well. So I work alongside the mayor and the city council to kind of advocate for all the students in the school district. And I really think that it's important to be a city council student representative, because not only am I already kind of out there doing stuff as the I think it was city council student representative. I meant school board student representative, but that's okay. But because I'm already out there as a city council student rep. And so I think that it's kind of a great way for me to bridge the gap between the two, to kind of make sure that both sides are getting the same information, the same quality of information. And I also think it's important because since I'm in these clubs where I'm kind of already around the school and speaking with students, I think that it's a great opportunity for me to bolster their voices and kind of get their opinions out there.
Thank you, Jacob. Olivia.
Oh, wait, can you say the question again?
Absolutely, yes. So your name, what grade you in, your schedule, and other things that you're connected with. So as far as like Unite and your involvement with Unite, and then I think we'll probably go with that. And then I've got a couple other questions after you're done, then we'll go over, and then the board will share who they are.
Okay. My name's Olivia Rios. My last name just recently changed. I'm a sophomore at Washougal High School. my schedule, first period I have AP Bio, second I have AP World History, third I have pre-AP Sophomore English, fourth period choir, fifth period Spanish 2, sixth period geometry. I work, sorry, I worked a lot with Unite Washougal. I've been working with them for the past 3.5 years. Last year I joined the ambassador program, mostly with Free Easy. This year I'm trying to get more in with teens in the driver's seat. I also do peer connections with Jake. I was a student rep last year on the school board. I'm also a youth sector rep, with that I'm kind of confused about, but Margaret is still trying to explain that to me. I also work closely with Betty Gable, Margaret, and Xander Cook, or Margaret McCarthy and Xander Cook. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. And yeah, just, why you're interested in being a student.
So I'm interested in being a student rep because it's a way for the youth voice to get out there, not just me, but also my peers. I like working with my community, not just my school, but just my community in general. And I think it would be a great opportunity to share how I feel and how others feel and how we can change things and work better on things. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, great, thank you. So these are our 3 student reps for this year. Talking with Mr. Castle, he is attempting to get 1 more student rep. I am thrilled that you are interested in doing this. So thank you for this commitment. We did have a chance to meet last week, and then Jocelyn and I met earlier today. And so the way this looks is hopefully we'll be able to connect prior to each board meeting they're attending. They're going to attend 1 board meeting a month, and it typically is this one. There's going to be a board meeting later on in the early spring where they're going to be assisting with an advisory vote for the calendar.
Yeah.
And so that particular meeting, they'll be at the second in February, unless we move when that decision is made. So before we get to the questions, could you please introduce yourself, provide as much context as you want as far as your the area that you are representing, and then also some more context about why you're doing what you're doing. Paul, would you mind starting us off?
Not a problem. So Paul Hooper, District 5 representative for the school board. So if you think about the 5 districts, 2 of them are pretty rural. So Jane and I share those, but I have the cut that goes from Woodburn Hill, Mount Norway, kind of goes up the Ridge Road and then goes into Skamania County, Bell Center Road, kind of that whole section there. So I actually grew up on Bell Center Road. I'm a WHS grad, class of 93, go Panthers. And I spent a lot of time coaching softball since I've been at the field over there. And then this opportunity came up and I thought it was just a great way to give even more back to the community, right? Just really, when you see kids' faces as they're growing and learning and doing stuff, and there's the impact that you can make. And I just thought it would be a great way to kind of even do bigger impact than just the teams that I'm around. So it's all of them. So that's sort of who I am and why I'm here.
Great, thank you.
So I'm Jane. I'm District 2. As Paul mentioned, we're rural. So I'm upriver and east. They're kind of really weird. You'd have to look at the map that way. And I've got 2 kids in the Washougal School District. So currently a 3rd grader and a 4th grader. I've done a lot of different volunteering, but I really felt like being on the school board could help impact, future education, both for them and for all the rest of the kids in the district.
Thank you.
I'm Sadie McKenzie. I'm District 3, and I'm Sunset Ridge. Well, it's Sunset View. Sunset Ridge. I have 2 kids. I have one that just started high school. So he's a freshman this year. So it's exciting to have a student that's actually in high school now. And then I have a 7th grader at JMS. And I wanted to be on the school board because I wanted to be more involved, like you guys probably, but just on a different level of parenting and, just being involved as a parent. And I volunteer a ton. I really enjoy volunteering. So, well, pretty much me.
Thank you, Sadie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Ida. I represent District 4. So that's above Jump to Guard, CRGE, and then so that's east. what else am I supposed to say? Okay, why I'm interested in being here. So I have a kid in school as well. And as he was starting out, I wanted to better understand how things work, frankly. And then also the more involved you are, and sort of probably why you're here, the more opportunity you have to make a difference and to make changes and ask questions and then get understanding. So just thank you for being engaged and being willing to learn.
Great, thank you. So I have a couple questions that I want to ask you, and however you want to share those. Maybe Jake, you could start with the first question, which is, what are you hoping for will happen this year in your involvement with the school board?
I think that the main thing that I'm hoping for is to build better relationships and more relationships with adults, as staff, faculty, and students in the school district. I really strive to get to know as many people as I can. And so I think that really what I'm hoping for is to meet more people, get to kind of represent more people's views, what they think should happen in the school district. And yeah,
Great,
kind of my goal.
thank you. Jocelyn?
I think it is a really big deal to have that bridge between the understanding of a youth or a student and the people who represent them. And I think that because of the travel that I do and the people I get to hear present and give the conversations that they give, they always say that the youth are the future, and that when we do things and they don't get the youth voice, we don't have as clear of a perspective. So I think that one of the biggest reasons why I thought this was a great opportunity, not only myself, but to be able to work with people who I have worked with in other projects, knowing what they're capable of and the good that we're going to be able to do, I think is a huge deal for me. And I think just like kind of building off what Jake said, having that understanding of each other and knowing where each person is coming from.
Great, thank you. Olivia?
What I was hoping for.
Yeah, what are you hoping to see this year in this role?
I'm honestly, I'm hoping for more like student voice to get out there. There's a lot of things just like happening at our school, not just like not things that are publicly known. Like there's a lot of mental health stuff going on. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I'm hoping like Jocelyn and Jake to like more youth understanding. I I'm so sorry.
You are,
Don't worry about it.
don't worry about it.
This is so.
We'd be nervous if we were sitting
Yeah,
here, but
you're so
don't
fine.
worry.
Yeah.
Honestly, as of right now, that's all I'm really hoping for. I'm not quite sure yet, because especially like the school year just started.
Yep.
But I hope to like know what I'm hoping for like soon. Like there's a lot of stuff going on with Breathe Easy and Teens in the Driver's Seat right now.
Yep.
And right now we're like about to like launch like a new project. So I'm hoping that is successful and a lot of kids can get a lot of help out of that. And I'm just like hoping for more stuff like that to help the community and like the kids at school.
Yeah. Good. So we're gonna stay with you. Okay. So the next question is, how's the start of the school year? And you can talk about things that are going well and things that maybe are challenging.
The start of school year's gone pretty well so far. I don't really I don't have much to say. I think the cell phone usage is a problem again in school, but like we're still adjusting to that.
The problem which way?
Like a lot of use in class.
So you're seeing cell phones used in class?
Yes. I know Mr. Hansen and Jake and I all talked about the AI use in the class. I think that's also a problem, but we have like a solution on how we can we're working on solutions on how to fix that. But besides that, I think the school year has gone really well. A lot of new kids are getting involved with LULAC, or ambassadors like Breathe Easy, Teens in the Driver's Seat.
What's Breathe Easy?
It's a program in the ambassador. Jocelyn, can you explain, please?
Breathe Easy was formed my sophomore year, so 2022, and we were on our way back from a prevention summit. And Breathe Easy Breathe Easy specifically focused on substance misuse in our school. So we had a campaign that we built that was an anti-vaping campaign because that was a very huge issue at the time.
Okay.
And we continued expanding it. Now we're working on something that Olivia is lead on, which is a vape kit. And it's to help, it's the resources to get the word out. But Breathe Easy is just one of our programs throughout the ambassadors. And we have some new people in it, some new roles. So yeah, so
Very cool. Okay, thank you.
Great.
She has more of an understanding.
Oh, you're
of
good.
it.
Okay, so it's been a decent start for you.
Yes.
Okay, Jocelyn.
This year's been really good. I struggled a lot last year. I had a personal issue happen and I missed a lot of school and my grades really dropped. And as a person who's always valued high marks and being at school and getting good grades and getting good affirmation from my teachers, I really struggled with it. So going into this year, I had a lot of stress that was going to reflect and that I was going to have issues. But I did my college applications and I got into the schools that I wanted, which took a lot of stress off of my plate. So I feel a lot better going into this year. I have good understanding with my teachers and my grades are solid and everything like that. So I feel good going into this year. I do agree with Olivia. I know that there's a later question as well on cell phone use, but there are certain things that I've noticed that are different from previous years that we're seeing more of and things that we're seeing less of. So of course we'll get into that later, but I feel confident that this year is going to be a good year and I'm glad because it's my senior year. So good way to go out the gate.
Thank you.
What schools did you get into?
I got into Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. I want to be an ASL interpreter. So that is one of the top schools in the nation for ASL, which I'm really excited about. Only about 6% of hearing students get accepted to that school.
Wow.
It's a primarily deaf school. And then I am planning on going to Western Oregon University. So it's a little closer to home, but
Great, thank you.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
thank you.
My school year's been going pretty good so far. I think that really my biggest struggle is I took on easier classes than I did last year because I was taking on so many extracurricular roles. And now I'm realizing that school's kind of boring when you don't take hard classes. And so that's honestly my biggest struggle is that some of my classes are just too easy. Or not even just too easy, but just kind of like redundant, stuff I've already learned. But it's been really great. Like they said, there's definitely an uptick in cell phone usage, and I think that's because of a couple different things. But yeah, I'm really excited for this school year. I'm really excited for all the opportunities I get. I'm really excited to keep it going.
Great. Okay, so later on, we're gonna be discussing the cell phone policy. And so that one of the questions was, what are you noticing regarding cell phone use around the school? So Jake might continue.
Well, so for me, I would say I see more kids on their phone in a class period than I see kids not on their phones. I would say that at one point or another, almost every kid in class has their phone out, whether that be to actually play on it or just to check the time. And I know that especially in like my first period class and my fifth period class, where it's kind of a more laid back environment, there's a lot more cell phone usage. And part of that lends to the students, but also I think part of that lends to the teacher. I would say more so like my fifth period class with Mr. Mansell, it's because it's a wood shop. You can't be everywhere in the wood shop. There's a lot of places that kids can go stand behind things and be on their phone. Whereas in my first period class, it's more so just the environment of the classroom is kind of more chill and thus kids feel more comfortable pulling out their phones, regardless of if they actually have a chance of them being taken or not. But I also think that a big thing with the cell phone policy is 99% of kids, including myself, truthfully, don't put it in their backpack. I don't think I pull out my phone outside of lunch, really. At least I'd like to think I don't. If I do, maybe it's subconsciously, I just check the time. But really, no one puts it in their backpack. And I think that that's because everyone kind of thinks, oh, well, it's not going to be a distraction. I can ignore my phone, and then they can't. But I think they kind of more of an emphasis on, well, it will distract you if it's in your pocket, then that might be good because a lot of kids just keep it in their pocket.
Do you think oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, do you think it would take like a lot of schools are just outright banning them from start to finish? Do you think that's what it takes? Or do you
No,
think there's another path?
I would like to say that there's another path, but truthfully, I wouldn't have an answer on what that is. But I think that an outright ban of phones would really result in two things. Kids bringing their old phone and putting that in a little metal pouch and then having another phone on them, or them just saying, I don't have a phone. And then unless you search every kid, a bunch of kids' backpacks, then you're not going to actually get their phone from them. And so I think that it would probably like to ban them in a way where you could actually guarantee kids don't have a phone on them would be a large like amount of money that you'd be putting into a program that I really think wouldn't end up working that well in the long run. So I really hope that there's another way we can do it besides that.
And do you view them as, like when you talk about kids being on their phone in the class, like do you view that as detrimental for them, for you, for both?
Well, truthfully, I kind of take a stance that I guess probably would be very popular. I think that if you're going to receive a free education, it's up to you to take advantage of that. And I mean, obviously, I like to think that I take a pretty good advantage of my education and I don't use my phone a lot during class. But I think that if at the end of the day, if you're going to pull out your phone and you're going to kind of put yourself at that disadvantage, that's your choice. And I think that really it doesn't affect the entire class that much. It really only affects the student that chooses to pull up their phone. And so to me, I think that it's probably a detriment to them, but it's really not that big of a deal as far as it goes to like to me if I see them with their phone out.
Are teachers helping with that? Like, are they saying, please put your phone away, or?
Yeah.
Kind of one of those.
I would say that pretty much every teacher I've ever had, they're pretty on top of telling you to put your phone away because they also understand that it does affect the student's ability to learn. I think that, like I said earlier, there's just certain class environments like the wood shop, like the
Right.
metal shop, where it's harder to kind of manage that. And then I think that it's also the same thing with a lot of students that just don't really have any respect for their teachers, and so they don't care, and they'll just like set it in their lap, or the teacher tells them to put it away, and then pull it right back out once the teacher turns around.
Yeah.
But yeah, the teachers are definitely attempting to enforce it.
Okay.
I mean, for example, all three of you have your phones sitting right next to you on the table. You're not looking at them, but they're out and visible.
Jocelyn?
Kind of going exactly off of that, which I was thinking when he was talking. I think that a lot of people too, especially the people I have around me, I'm a very open sitting classrooms where you can either see everybody around you or you're in a table group where you see everybody. And people have a habit, even if not looking at their phone or using
Right.
it, just having it out. Either that be in the front or it's the back. I noticed that a lot recently, but I kind of have a different perspective, and that could be the classes that we have differently. But I have seen a lot of reinforcement recently, like today alone, I think I saw 6 students get their phone taken until the end of the day in my classes. And I think that they are enforcing it more. There's more teachers observing it, seeing it, and not even giving a warning to the student and just saying, hey, I need a phone pickup. And somebody coming or security guards and grabbing the phone. So I think that I have seen an increase in that. But I also think with the phone policy last year, I know specifically for me, I had about 3 out of my 6 teachers who would they didn't care about the phone policy. They would just say, like, I don't care if it's out, like, get your work done. And that was usually more in the higher level classes, my APs. My teachers assumed that we were going to get our work done, but there are some students that still don't do it. And then they have nothing to blame but the fact they were on their phone the entire time during class or for the past whatever time before the test was, whatever the circumstances was. So even this year going into it with the phone policy that we have being more put out. We first day of school, we got told a lot, no phones in your backpack at all times, those things. There are still a good amount of students who don't follow that. And I agree with Jake, it's usually in their pockets or it's in their lap or somewhere that's still accessible to them. And even when security guards come and say you can put it in your backpack and that's your warning, they won't do it just because they don't want to, and then it still gets taken away from them. So I think there is also that defiance to what Jacob was saying. And I think there's also the other line of it that if we were to try to completely ban the phones, not only do I think that people would, like you said, bring a different phone or not want to give it up at all, I think that there would be students who would be more aggressive in the fact that they'd be like, I'm not giving you my phone, and then we'd have more issues with things like that. So I think that's my take on phones. I do think that for some people it's a safety thing, having them to be able to contact people around them, not having to go through the office. I understand that in some places, and I think that the self-control of it is also difficult for some people. Some people just have an addiction to it where they need it on them at all times, or other people are okay with putting it down. So I think that that is an issue that's hard to gauge for that many students in different classes. Like Jake said, visibility wise, different teachers not caring, some caring greatly. So I think that is a little rough area to try to figure out. So
Do you remember what the cell phone policy was when you guys were in middle school? Was there one?
I don't think I had one.
Yeah, there was one. But it was pretty much I don't know, I feel like a lot of kids didn't really use their phones in middle school. I think that mostly it was like to listen to music. And because like really back like when I was in middle school, there wasn't really ChatGPT to help you cheat or anything as much. And so really if they were out, it was for music for the most part. And the policy was pretty much just if you're getting your work done and you're not distracting a big group of people with it, it can be out. It was pretty lax at Canyon.
Something else I did see a surge of recently too is that because they can't have their phones out, they'll be watching videos on their Chromebooks. And then it's more distracting because there's more people wanting to watch because it's the bigger screen, it's getting their interest, they're seeing it when they're trying to do something else. So I did notice that as well. People won't have their phone out, but then teachers have to correct them and say, well, you're not on the correct thing. They'll have to start using the browsing feature where you can see what kids are looking at on their school issued Chromebook. So I did notice that as well. It's coming up.
Like for this is like with like what Jake said about like the question about like the middle schools enforcing the phones at Jump to Guard. I know my 8th grade year, they started enforcing it a lot because then you weren't allowed to have them out during class or passing periods or before school and after school. If you were on it during your passing period, a teacher could take it away from you for the rest of the day. So I know like you weren't allowed to have it out at all until you were at lunch or after school or before school. I'd say like at Jump to Guard, they were very on top of it with the cell phones. If a teacher saw it out, you get a warning, and then if they saw it out again, they'd take it. And it really depends on the teacher, like if you have it out for the rest, or if they take it for the rest of the day, or like after like the class was over. But I think that that was really enforced at the middle school for like at least when I was like there.
Thank you.
During passing time, can you guys have it out in between classes?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to.
I don't think you're supposed to.
Well, I see a lot of kids. with it.
That's because that's what my
Just
son
assume
said,
that-
because he was like, actually, Mom, I don't know, because a
Yeah.
lot of kids have it out during.
Yeah.
I've never the teachers about it.
Yeah.
Right, so those were our questions. So we're not always gonna focus on like cell phones and things that we're trying to enforce. And just as we're describing, we're spending quite a bit of time on this topic. And really, we want to spend a lot of our time on academics. The reason we're choosing cell phones is because we think it's, there's a theory out there, there's research out there that it's impactful to learning. And I think you're sharing that it is. And Jake, what you were saying about this opportunity for an education.
Yeah.
And where is your attention? And if your attention isn't on the information that's being presented that you're being asked to engage in, and it's something that's that maybe isn't productive. And we have some data from the survey that almost 1,000 people have completed. Maybe you've completed the survey that was recently shared with students and middle school and high school students. A lot of parents have completed it. Most of it is majority are students. And so, and what the survey results say as far as the distractions, the negative aspects of cell phone use. There was a question of positive things that can be gained from cell phones. So it's interesting. It's an interesting topic, as when cell phones first became available to many people, they became affordable. We really leaned into cell phone use.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to make an adjustment, and not just we, Washougal and Clark County and the state of Washington. There's an expectation in probably every state. This discussion is happening. So appreciate your feedback. And sometimes when we ask questions, it can be challenging, as you each have 6 teachers and you have peers, and so we appreciate anything you're willing to share with us publicly about what you're experiencing. So thank you. If you don't have any other questions, I think that's basically the questions I had for you. Is there anything else you want to share at this time?
I just want to share one thing about phone usage. I think that I heard a lot from kids. They love to listen to music during class. And I absolutely agree that like you should listen to music while like during a lecture while the teacher's talking. But I think that maybe when we think about the phone use policy, I think that maybe there should be some way to make it to where kids can still listen to music during like free work time, just because it's calming. It helps a lot of kids pay attention. And I think that, a lot of teachers do play like background music, but really most kids want to listen to their own music. And so I just think that maybe if there's like a way to kind of fit that in there, I think a lot less kids would be more, lack of a better term, rebellious towards the rules, is if they could just listen to their own music, because really that's what most kids use their phones for.
I agree with Jake. I'm one of those people, I can't work in a quiet setting because then I just start overthinking. I always like it's either like if it's just like a small conversation between me and like my table partner, or like having to like put an earbud in. It just helps me work better, and it doesn't keep my mind like over. I don't get overstimulated with like information.
Thank you.
Good perspective.
Any other topics other than cell phones? So I think one or two of them mentioned this idea of AI project. So different than previous years, I'm hoping that we can work together on an AI project with we start looking at what could be some potential guidance that they present to me in my role, and I'll share it with you. and give them a little context that there really isn't any policy that's being shared with us as far as from WSDA on AI use. There's certainly information that this OSBI has provided. There are a number of districts that are very public in what they're doing in supporting AI being used by staff and students. So that's something we're going to be working on and we'll be updating as we start the project. Okay, so at this time you are free to leave the boardroom. You're also welcome to stay. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Do you want us to turn the microphones off?
I think we will. We'll take care of that. Thanks.
Right. Next up, we have our board and superintendent update. Who wants to start tonight?
Sure.
Jane's gonna.
I love not being on the end anymore.
I'm gonna move these names next time. We'll be a race to see who gets here first. We're gonna mix it up a little bit. What's on my mind? Well, hopefully everyone got their voters pamphlet in the mail. I've already gotten a few texts from some friends of mine. They're like, "Hey, wait a minute! You're in the voters pamphlet. I know that name. I'm gonna vote for Sadie instead of for you." Like, go ahead. And I think ballots are mailed tomorrow, so I would encourage everyone to take a look at the voters pamphlet and vote for Sadie, Jean, and I, as we're all running for election. We can kind of keep our seats up here. And the only other thing that I've been thinking about is I had asked a question just about how the new Chromebook policy in middle schools is going. And just seeing if we had any feedback from students and or teachers in terms of how that's helping or hurting or anything like that.
Gotcha. So you, what's that?
I forgot about that. He'd asked
Yeah.
about that because I was wondering kind of the same thing because it's a big change for the middle school.
It is a big change for the middle schools, and I don't know that I have specific responses. I know Mr. Cook and I talked about it, but I don't know that we've sent anything out to students to gather their feedback. So
I can give you 2 data points if you
yeah,
want.
how about your two?
My 2 data points are it's sort of annoying to them to have to turn in their Chromebooks, and it eats up about 5 minutes of first period to go get your Chromebook, and people end up grabbing the wrong one, and then they're sorting that's mine, that's yours, that's mine. So they both have 6th period band, so the band teacher has 60 Chromebooks to check in.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So just sort of wondering there if there's a kind of where we're at with that.
Gotcha. So I know that we have worked through a couple of examples where, and one specifically where a parent wanted their student to be able to take their Chromebook home. And so that's an option. So we've worked through that with that individual case. The reason we did this was because Chromebooks were not being charged.
Yeah.
We were finding that we were spending more money on the charging device, the cord, the charger would disappear, it'd be left at home. And so there were challenges with that, and then it's a bit too early to tell if we're going to see a reduction in the breakage and the number of repairs that are required. Losing Chromebooks, which when a Chromebook is lost, then we the student that lost the Chromebook that becomes a fee.
Yeah.
But that can be challenging because it's an expensive piece of equipment. So again, it's a bit early as far as that goes. The few people the individual teachers I've talked to, if they feel it's beneficial for the reason of the charge Chromebooks, they're plugged in, they are there the next day. But then I didn't talk to any students about the impact on them and what you're bringing up.
Yeah.
And that example of Dr. Hodat, probably who has a very
Expensive
large
math
class.
class as well.
Right,
lot,
and
I
that's
would
the reality with that one teacher.
Yeah, it's a one-off.
That's the one, but still, it's been impactful. So for those individuals.
So I would random thought just to throw in there. We've also talked about how we could continue to drive things through our highly capable programs, right? So maybe a thought there that perhaps we look at those students. Are those students able to take their course?
Yes,
So
yep.
as a way, we want equal access for all students, but we've already sort of tested them and said, hey, we want to challenge them more. So maybe that is an example.
We're having that device at home.
Yeah, where they
allows
can
them to be able to
continue
access.
to
Yep.
learn and
things
access.
They're on there, they're preloaded or access to.
Yep.
Yeah, other resources. So, and again, I believe that is an option.
Good.
It's just a matter of requesting that through,
Yeah.
to the teacher, and then there's a different checkout.
Yep.
For that. So that is an option. But yeah, we will come back with some more feedback. This also could be something that when we have our principals here,
Be a good deal.
the secondary principals, so it's Jake and David who are the ones who can share, because we don't do this at the high school.
Right.
The iPads do stay home, I believe, with the elementary, that they stay.
Yeah, they don't go
Sorry, they stay
In-
at school, yeah, and they're in a similar way, they're charged each day. Okay, anything else?
No, that was it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we're off to the races. Parent teacher conferences, at least for my kiddos, are the end of this month. So excited for that. They're also, Cape Horn is hosting a pie night next week, which is Partners in Education. So basically they're inviting parents to come in, bring the kiddos. They've got some entertainment for the kiddos, and then the parents can ask questions and learn more about what their kids are learning, which I think is definitely a good step. I'm still not seeing any homework, which I know is our policy. I still have some concerns with that. Just in, like, I love the weekly summary that they give. I think that's great, but I still have a very limited ability to sit down with my child and like work through and see how they're learning and where they're at. So I would just say that I know that decision has been made, but we might need to revisit that. Because as a parent, like, I want that visibility, and I know my child more than anyone else. I can tell when they're struggling to grasp a concept and when they need some additional support. Outside of that, though, it's been, I don't know, the typical eventful beginning of the school year, getting into patterns, et cetera.
Great, thank you.
Um. So my husband attended the golf. What was it called at the Oaks?
Orchard Hills,
Orchard Hills, for as a fundraiser.
it was for the golf for both the Washougal High School golf program and Camas High School golf program, yes.
It started a little early because of work, but yeah, I had a lot of fun. So I thought it was cool that they did that, and the community could, you know, partake in that.
Yes.
Other than that, yeah, trying to settle into the school year. I think I also have some concerns about homework similar to Jane and stuff. You know, my son being in a very busy classroom. So I am, you know, we're looking forward to the parent teacher conferences and seeing, you know, how we can partner with our teacher to do that. But as we talk about special education, I'm very curious about, you know, special needs kids in the classrooms and just other kids who are on performance plans and how we integrate that with our other students and balance. Just trying to understand how that happens a little bit more. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple things. First off, I'm super excited. The Washougal Motocross track, Ryan and Shelley Huffman, they are letting Washougal Middle School host the, oh my gosh, my brain's broken.
Cross country.
The cross
Yes.
country. We're hosting 14 schools tomorrow, and it's gonna be really exciting. So if anybody wants to come and get maybe a little muddy and watch all these kids race, they put in a lot this year, and had really good coaches, really good turnout this year for cross country. So that's new and exciting. I got a chance to check out our new Chartwell menu at the middle school and at the grade school at CRGE. I'm just kind of looking at the different options and seeing the changes. And I did see a little bit of sugar that we were concerned about, but other than that, I did notice that if any parents have questions about, we have a menu online that shows exactly how much sugar and what is in each item. We have so many more options. The kids were super excited just about the lunch options. We have salad options or pizza options all in one day that we didn't have before.
And breakfast options, there's a lot. Then there's always a healthy option, there's milk and stuff. So I got a lot of good feedback from students and from even the janitorial service said that there was a lot less waste in the food, which I thought was really cool. So I think that so far that's a good change for us.
Yep.
So far.
Great.
But other than that, that's really it.
Okay, thank you. So I have a few things. So the conference week is the 27th to the 31st, 5 days of early release. So students will be coming home 3 hours early, and then there's time to conference. So yeah, hopefully you are taking advantage of that and scheduling time with your students, teachers. Yes.
I'd love to know like what our percentage of parental attendance is on that, just because like I did notice, and I think this is normal, it's been like that every year, but like there's only one day where it goes to 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And I mean, I have a flexible schedule, so I can make that work, but if I was driving to Portland and having to work an 8 to 5, that's a very different story. And so
we had to work with the teacher one-on-one, so you were like, we can't do any of these.
yeah, so I'm just curious of like what our attendance rate is from parents and that, and if they don't attend, if we have ever done like the why haven't you? Just given our demographics and that type of.
So like, I mean, why do we ask?
No, like why, I would love to know how many parents actually attend.
Gotcha.
And if they don't, and I don't know if we can get this, like, why don't they? Is it because work schedules don't allow them to? Because, like I said, I know there was only one day where it went to 5.
Mhm.
And even then it's not after 5. And for a lot of folks, that's not possible if you're not in a job
That
with
was
some
like the
flexibility.
first slot taken, by the way.
Yeah.
Like there was 3 people who had signed up. That was the first one taken. So again, schedules that are great for the school, but not great for parents. Sure. My drum will keep eating.
Well, and I think it's different because I think middle school's different. The way that they do it is different than the way, because
Correct.
middle school does it in the gym, right?
Yep.
And so, and then they
I
have,
don't know if both middle schools do, but yeah, they have, I think
Yeah.
kindergarten has in the past has had 2 evening.
yeah, like more of a
Yeah.
drop-in, or you
Yeah.
can do one on
That's
one.
nice.
Yeah.
And they have one day that they're there until pretty late.
Yeah, if not 2. I think, yeah, they at times Jefferson
Yeah.
has done 2 evening
Yeah.
conferences. At the high school, I think they do 1 evening conference. I'm not sure about
So maybe,
TCMS, but what we can do is ask our principals to help track the conference completions for each.
I'm just curious if
grade, yeah.
impacting parents not being able to attend and
Yeah,
get that extra.
that's certainly something we could ask parents. And what we do notice is as the students get older,
More about,
there is, what's that?
are there more?
No, there's fewer.
Fewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's fewer families that are accessing conferences.
Well,
I
they're,
think it's-
they're no longer mandatory, right?
Well, they're not mandatory to begin with.
Yeah, so that's what we see.
Well,
That's what we see. So we're offering 8 days of early release right now. And it's a really good question on it. You know, how many families are accessing this time? The percentage of students whose families are participating for various reasons, that's challenging, right? One example is like availability, like you have a work schedule that isn't conducive. And so there are challenges with that because we have a collective bargaining agreement that identifies this specifically. And so there are things that if there's an ask here for families, then we have to make some adjustments with the expectations for the staff. And so again, it isn't consistent across the board as far as I think there are. So in middle school, there's a couple evening opportunities. High school, there's 1. It doesn't sound like elementary. It's I think you said 5 o'clock.
One day.
Yeah.
Every other day is until 3 in
Yeah.
high school.
Well, I was wondering, like, so I'm having to make special arrangements for the teacher to stay late. Now that's not part of that schedule. So I'm almost wondering if it's better to have a couple days, like 2 days of conferences that are just longer. And then that's accounted for in their hours, you know what I mean? Because now they're doing extra because.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think the question for teachers, you know, are they getting these special requests that they're doing outside that?
Yeah. So, so Connor meets monthly with our labor partner, so the teachers and their leadership, and that certainly can be something that we bring up in discussion. What we're wondering is, right, you're talking about the challenges you've had And we don't have it, we don't have the data. Like,
Yeah,
right off
just
the-
wondering if there
yeah.
isn't, I mean, I actually just said there is impact to her, but like how many families are
Right,
impacted by the
exactly.
time that currently?
Yeah, and I think there's also how many in the typical class of 23, how many families do they see? And of the ones they don't, do they have a sense for? And so that can be something we push out in the survey. We can also ask families, at the conclusion of this, would you maybe want to see something different than that? Okay, so I got a couple things. First of all, I want to share with you. So this, so you each get a copy. So front is board goals, back is superintendent goal. So I just want to go, let's go this really quickly. This one says draft, and then when I ran it through the copier, that draft doesn't show. So this is a draft. And so what I'd like us to do is just look at the two goals for the board. Again, this is draft, meaning that it can be revised. And so I've taken your feedback already that you've shared. And so I'll stop talking and just let you look at these. So the idea being something that at the conclusion of the year, we can go back and look and see how did we do? And so this is really a completely different format than what the first draft that I'd shared with you. So this revision, again, includes what I thought was your feedback. And so what I'm hoping that we can do is you can share thoughts as far as these two goals. And if you remember last year, we identified 2 out of the 2 areas out of the 6 guiding pillars. And then, so these 2, academic foundation and learning partnerships, are 2 of our 3 strategic ones. Okay.
I like it better this way too, because I like how we just have 2 main goals, but with these things that are going to be helping.
Right. So these are, yeah, the idea being these are things that you can work on. And we can add more, we can reduce. So just, yeah, share your thoughts. And if you flip it over, so these are my goals. And so the idea of a SMART goal, that is something at the end of the year, I can look back and we can look back and did we achieve these goals that I've provided? Does it work if I send you like a PDF of this? And then you have a little more,
Yeah, then we can.
yeah, more time to process it. The idea would
We
be.
see our eyes
if,
glazing.
well, I know it's challenging.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like, I think in this setting, to kick around maybe like edits. It's just I'm hoping that at the next meeting, we can, there can be a decision on the board's goals and my goals.
Yes.
And then at the conclusion of the year, we go back and look back and see how did we do relative to what we were hoping to achieve. The second item on here, the work group. So that is, the first meeting is the 22nd. So this coming Wednesday, the following Wednesday, we have the first meeting, and then there's scheduled meetings after that. With the hope is that there's going to be recommendations towards the spring, later spring, to me, that I will share with you and also give you updates along the way. Okay. Thoughts?
One quick question, just as I'm reading through this. So some of these goals have some for the board, right? Like specifically like celebrate and highlight partnerships that expand student opportunities, internships, dual credit internships. I'm like, how would I do that?
So I think, how would we celebrate it? I think we would, when we are aware of partnerships, that you would share, like, in the opportunity that you have.
Okay.
We prefer backflips.
To share,
Okay,
just
well,
just what you might,
I'm more, how would I find a partnership? Like, how would I become aware of it and be able to celebrate it? Like that's just a simple question.
sure,
I mean, I like the goal, but
yeah.
just how do you implement it?
Right.
Maybe you could improve it for us.
That's your action.
There we go. Yes,
That's what you get for
I'm
asking.
gonna learn to make sure I keep this off, huh?
Maybe that's
Yeah.
the goal, is to identify how we would become aware of.
Yeah.
There you go.
and just that, I'm like, we hear about Unite and the partnership with Unite, and Jacob being the city council rep, and that partnership with the city, which we have a lot of examples.
Yeah.
What we've seen this fall so far with organizations that are in Clark County that work, support our students, Read Northwest, ECA, just incredible what these partnerships are doing, supporting our students, also providing us resources, Conex boxes for storage. It just is continues. So part of it is me sharing because I become aware in many cases before you do. But there might be one that there's a partnership that maybe that
you hear about it.
knowing this is what we're what we're looking for, and to the point, like that also might be an item that might not fit there either. Okay, you just got to have an idea. My ideas aren't always the best ideas, so
You
here
said
we go.
you always want feedback.
I do.
Actually, that top one, yeah, let me take this top one. So this is the operating principles. So I'm hoping that we can just do a very well. So pretty major changes in the look, the formatting, going to bullets in these particular areas. It is a one pager in that there's a front and a back.
Love a good bullet.
That's a one pager. So again, much different than what we had. Paul, you had mentioned on the previous one that we had that there was a table.
Yeah.
That you, I think that was something you were, it was clear on the superintendent's roles, responsibilities, and the boards. So some of those components I did include here under board leadership and superintendent. So not all of them,
Yeah.
because I thought if they were represented in this document, not the exact words, but in the intention of the wording.
No, look, when I previewed it on board docs, it looked, thank you. It looked like you took the note that I had put out there, and it was definitely shows up in this document.
I like it.
I like it, yeah.
We were looking for something that was more concise, right? And so I think there was some redundancy in what we had. If you go to the second page, the last item, community complaints. So our other document referenced the policy. We have a number of policies. So there isn't a policy reference,
Right.
but really what this identifies is the ask is really the structure we're looking for, that if there is a concern, that we start with who the individual or the program where the concern exists. I know you know this, like you will receive a concern or a complaint, and that maybe the teacher doesn't know, or the principal doesn't know, or the superintendent doesn't know. And so when you then point out that, or you ask, have you spoken with the individual teacher? Have you spoken with the principal? Have you spoken with the superintendent? And I do the same thing. One of the first questions I ask is, have you spoken with that teacher? It's challenging for me to influence a fix or a solution. It from my position requires me to. There's several people I need to talk to, so I always encourage individuals first. Have you spoken with the individual that you're concerned about? So that just kind of identifies what that line of communication is, which I appreciate and rely on heavily. And I know when you communicate with me what the concerns are, that's very helpful. So I'm aware, and then we just again get into where the concern is. Okay.
Perfect example are listening tour at 4:30 today, right?
Yes. Yeah, so these two drafts, again, this is something that at our next board meeting, we're gonna be looking for some action on the two. And then the last thing I think I'll mention is, yeah, thank you for attending our first listening tour for this year. And so we really had two things that came up. One is on driving, the type of driving that is happening specifically around the high school, unsafe driving. And so we're going to be working with our leadership team at the high school and our student leadership and seeing if we can encourage a more thoughtful, more safer driving around the high school, and then also with meals and the level of sugar in the meals. And so Sadie, appreciate you checking in and getting some details, and as well as I did, and found out that our cereal is 25% less sugar, and that's to meet the requirements so we can offer these items. And so, like you said, Chartwells is communicating the caloric intake, the calories in the meals that we're serving and the items. And so there's a variety of options. I also get that when there's a cinnamon roll next to a hard-boiled egg and a cheese stick, and they have choice, that there's a pretty good chance they're going to choose the cinnamon roll, the whole wheat cinnamon roll.
Yeah, it's what we,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
after I lick the front.
I was gonna say, how many eat the cinnamon
But
rolls?
as I shared with you, our meal count is up. The idea being that our students, more students are accessing this program and what we're offering. So that was one of the goals. And so we're seeing an improvement there.
And I like that I didn't realize until I really dug deeper in that you can click on each item and get the exact ingredients from
Yes.
each thing, from
Yeah.
every single one for every single day, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't have that.
Right.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right.
The kids do say the pizza's better.
Yeah, my son wasn't a fan of the sauce.
Yeah.
Neither was mine. They were raving about the new pizza.
Maybe we should go have pizza day.
Little
I don't know.
Yes, we can do that. Actually, there's going to be a board visit
Oh, yeah,
at Cape Canyon next week on the 23rd. So we could build in
a little lunchtime.
a little meal for you. Yeah. Okay, great.
I'll eat yours.
Okay.
Seen one, cinnamon roll.
Can't go get it.
We'll send you a picture. All right.
You can go on Friday too.
Next up, we have our Principal Appreciation Month. Woohoo.
Yes, so October, we are celebrating our principals for the entire month. So last year, if you recall, I thought it was a good idea to invite all of our principals here at 6:30 in the evening to recognize them, to celebrate them. And they showed up, they were here. And then I've thought now, after being in this position for a year, maybe a better idea is to say, please don't come to the board meeting. That we want to talk about you, we want to recognize, celebrate you, but stay home. And so we had a leadership meeting yesterday, and I encouraged them again to stay home. And they're like, we're getting a mixed message here. I said, I know, I want you to participate in everything, but not this meeting, because we're celebrating you. Yes, and they did. They actually did listen. They listen a lot. They're an amazing group, and this is a national recognition. So across the country, celebrating principals, and so this does include our assistant principals. Although later on in the year, we're going to be recognizing them specifically. So they actually do get
a whole month.
They do, yes. So they are incredibly committed, and they are gifted in so many ways. They have challenging jobs, but I think they do it very well. And we have a crew that is, other than Dina, who's brand new in that role. She's doing a remarkable job. They've been with us for several years, and Hannah is in her third year. So really appreciate the group in their entirety. They work very well together. They support each other. And I think they're remarkable for what they do. So we did send out a newsletter last night or yesterday asking for individuals that want to share their appreciation in a principal shout out. So I just want to share with you. So far, I think there's almost been 30 responses, and so it'll be open for the entire month. But so far, just looking at a summary, what's been recognized with the individuals is support and care for staff that's been identified. A positive student interaction and leadership style, and they each have their own style. And these are individual statements of appreciation that they will receive. I will email them individually what individuals are saying about them. School climate, culture, visibility. Visibility is a big priority. The teachers want to see their leaders being in their classrooms and being visible. That's very helpful for them. Students, I believe they want to see their principals being visible. They want to see them around. They want to get to know them. I was at the volleyball match yesterday. As I'm talking to David Cook, he probably had 25 students high five him throughout our conversation. He is very popular. Yes. Dedication and hard work. Specific administrative recognition. So individuals received just from staff and from families, just specific things that they really appreciate about them. And it's about being friendly. It's about being kind. It's about being patient. So these are the things that are identified by our families and our staff, these leaders. These are the same things that we're looking for in our students, really. And I think that we look for, again, in our leaders, in our teachers, being kind, being considerate, being patient, being consistent. And so I think that's being shared. So I appreciate that. There is a proclamation, and I'm choosing not to read the proclamation, but I want you to see there is, again, it's from our governor. So thank you, Governor Ferguson, for providing this proclamation. Make sure you have a copy of it to read. But so again, we get to celebrate them for the entire month. And that's going to be ongoing. The next time we're together, there's going to be a SIP presentations. So we will, again, at that time when they're here, we'll say some more nice things about them. Okay.
Wonderful. All right. Next up, we have our special education update.
Yes.
Connor,
please. Our executive director for education programs, I think is the official title. So Connor has taken on multiple roles in addition to what he was doing already. So one of those that he was previously doing continues is around our special services. So this presentation, this was really an ask, I think last spring on what are our programs, and Ida, you brought up, and I think there's some context that's going to be provided. You're more than welcome to ask questions during the presentation, at the conclusion of the presentation. So Connor has a number of slides specifically around our special services, the types of positions, the types of programs.
Thank you.
Take it away.
So I'll hit quickly a few of these items. I want to go over kind of the purpose of special education, talk about what our continuum of services here in Washougal are, and then just highlight a few of our outcomes so you kind of have an idea of how that specific group of students are doing. General decision making around special education, right? It's not extra help, right? It's not a student is struggling, and so let's give them a little bit extra. The work that we're doing is identifying educational disability through evaluations, and we kind of have this three-prong rule that we follow when we are making a decision as a team, whether a student is eligible for special education or not, right? So first, they have to be identified with a disability under one of the recognized categories. There's 13 eligibility categories. And so if they are found to be eligible in one of those categories, that's kind of the first prong. And then whatever that disability is, it has to adversely impact their ability to access their education, right? There has to be a barrier that the disability creates so that they are not able to perform to the level that they would if they didn't have the disability. And then the third prong is that they require specially designed instruction in order to kind of mitigate that educational impact. Okay, so those are kind of the three questions we ask ourselves as a team. If it's yes, 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 then the student's eligible for services. And then down there, kind of those three bullets, those are some just general ideas of like, what do you get when you become eligible, right? You can receive specially designed instruction from a special education teacher or paraeducator. That is intended to support the student's access to the general education curriculum, right? So making sure that their access points are hit, that they are remediated in some way so that when they are in general education, they have as much success as possible receiving the instruction. Related services are provided to students, and the related services are specifically intended to support the student's access to their specially designed instruction, right? So it's kind of a little waterfall effect of if the student is needing extra support when they're receiving their SDI, we provide them with related services. Related services are often some of our speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy types of services, because those services really then help the student access their special education instruction, which then helps them access their general education instruction. And then you have accommodations and modifications, right, which are a slew of things, a lot of different options there. Just thinking about removing barriers, they're available often throughout the school day, across different settings, across different staff members, really just trying to support students' access, and modifications are adjusting the expectations to meet the student's specific individualized needs. Any questions about any of that? So our continuous services, right? When I say continuous services, we're required by law to provide a continuum. The continuum is not defined, but we have to have options in order to provide students with support and services. So this is an example of kind of what we provide in Washougal. It's never an exhaustive list. These things can be adjusted and changed, but in general, there are push-in supports, right? That supports going into the general education classroom to provide either related services or specially designed instruction in the grade level classroom. That is available in all of our buildings. Depending on the student's needs, the team decides that that's appropriate, then it's provided. Our resource room supports are provided in all of our buildings as well. That is a special education teacher providing small group instruction, often a pull-out setting, but it could be push-in as well. That's again targeted at the student specific goals on their IEP and however many services minutes they need for that specific area that they qualify for. Our separate classrooms are kind of our next level in the continuum. If you think about kind of least restrictive environment, push-in support is the least restrictive in terms of students aren't leaving their general education classroom to receive the services. Resource room is slightly more restrictive in that they might leave class for 30 minutes a couple times a day. Our separate classrooms are more restrictive, and they also specialize to support specific student populations. Our structured learning center is our behavior classroom. And so that program supports students' social emotional skills and emotional regulation. Students can be in that classroom for up to the whole day, but may spend only 20% of their day in that classroom, and they get support as they move into kind of the rest of their day and things like that. Again, primarily supporting emotional regulation and coping skills for students that are in that program. That program is offered at the elementary school, specifically Gaz Elementary, and at our high school. Our integrated academic classroom. This program is for students that need significant academic support. So you can think of it as like Resource Plus. Typically, we look at students who are cognitively 2 standard deviations below the mean. So if the average is 100, they're hitting down to like 70 as their IQ score, and they need both cognitive and academic support, and also some adaptive support and some speech. So that program is at Hathaway Elementary School, and then at the high school, you'll see students really focusing on that like small group, modified academic instruction, and then they also spend time in the grade level classrooms throughout the day, depending on their needs. Our life skills classrooms would probably be considered our most intensive classrooms. These students are often less verbal to nonverbal. They often have adaptive communication devices that they're utilizing to support their expressive and receptive needs. And then also cognitively and academically, they're significantly below their grade level peers. And so they receive a lot of intensive supports around academics, speech and communication, and then their adaptive skills around self-care and things like that are also being supported throughout the day. And those programs are at Columbia River Gorge Elementary, at Cape Horn Sky, and then at the high school. Our comprehensive support program is only offered at Jump Guard Middle School, and this is what we call a cross-categorical program. And so it takes 2 or more of those previous categories, classrooms, and combines them, right? So we don't have enough students at our middle school to support some of those specialized classrooms by themselves. And so we create a cross-categorical program. Typically, it is our integrated academic students and our life skills students, right? And so those students that are needing kind of that more intensive academic and adaptive support receive it at the comprehensive support level at Jump to Guard. And we don't have a behavior classroom at Jump to Guard, and those students aren't integrated into the comprehensive support program either.
How many students do you have there?
At comprehensive support, 10.
10.
And then our adult transition program is unique in that it is the program that serves students post-high school. And so 18 to 22-year-olds are able to access adult transition, and they focus on that post-school outcomes. So independent living, job skills, job training, shadowing, internships, those around the house chores, household management, food prep, all of those different things that go into just like living independently when there's not someone else telling you or reminding you what to do. And so that program is run out of our Excelsior building on our high school campus, and they spend probably about half the time in the classroom. Our teacher has set it up very similar to like you're clocking into work, right? And you're clocking out, and they've got an office set up as like a bedroom where they're practicing kind of managing your space. And then they spend about half the time driving around the community, going to job sites, volunteering, practicing community navigation with public transportation and things like that.
We have 2 vans, and this program is a certificated teacher and 2 para educators, three para educators. And so, yeah, you might see them. We have a Honda van that we recently picked up last year, and so this is a program that is growing. That's why we purchased another van, is to transport them. So our certificated staff member and our para educators are transporting, and they also, like you said, they use public transportation. So they're with us till they're 22. One of the things you're going to hear about when our high school principal is talking about the graduation rate. So some of these students have met the requirements and could receive a diploma, but the team has decided they're going to stay in this program till they're 22, and so they don't count as a graduate. So our graduation percentage is impacted. It's an interesting situation, and it's a conversation we want to have with OSPI about that rule, because this is an excellent program for these individual students and providing the support. And again, they're in our community and they're working in different roles in our community, which is a really good experience for them. So we appreciate the work that's being done. But again, when Mark talks about the graduation rate, one thing that impacts it is students that stay with us till they're 22, because they actually count against our graduation rate.
But they do have a diploma, or they can get
No,
one?
they some of them would actually could receive their diploma, but the
Okay.
team is deciding
They need
them
to do
to
this.
stay in this program. Yeah.
Okay.
So then they eventually, when they're 21 or 22, when they are exiting this program, then they'll get a diploma.
Yeah, because I'm assuming if they got a diploma, they wouldn't be eligible for the program.
That's
Right,
correct.
that's right,
When you
that's
receive
not-
your diploma,
Yeah.
you are exited from public education. So yes, the high school team does a really good job of getting kids graduation eligible, and then moving them into the transition program. But the transition program is a requirement, right? We are required by law to serve students that are receiving services to the age of 22. We do a good job of identifying which students would benefit and need that level of support for the additional 4 more years. But yeah, when they are 18 and a senior and ready to graduate, they have received all of the credits they need to graduate, and we just withhold the diploma while they receive the extra 4 years to kind of get those extra skills under their belt. And then when they're graduated, they could graduate in 2 years from transition, right? Depending on their goals and their needs. Then they'll receive their diploma, and they're coded as continuing and do not count towards our graduation rate and are kind of set aside, and then technically kind of lower that percentage that we're kind of tracking as 4-year graduation.
How many students do we have?
Yeah.
We currently have 16. And I think when I started, we had about 8. So part of it is the state recently had to shift the age. So we were 18 to 21, and it recently bumped up to 22. So we're going to be serving students longer. So that number will kind of increase just because of that. And then yeah, we have more students that are eligible and would benefit from that support. So we have more parents and families opting into it. So numbers 1, 2, 3 that I just talked through, those are the services we provide in district. We serve about 95% of our students through those different programs. Number 4, non-public agencies. Those are programs that are provided outside of our district, day treatment programs, specialized schools that support students that need kind of that next level of support. And so we have some students that receive services outside of our district in non-public agencies. Non-public agencies are approved by OSPI. We don't just kind of like throw a kid out at an unvetted program, but they're vetted and monitored by OSPI, and students receive services from those programs. You can think of them as specialized schools. We have specialized classrooms in district that kind of really target specific skills. There are schools that really then ratchet that level of support up around specific skills, and we support students in that way at times. And then the highest level of support are residential programs. And so those programs, right, provide the education and also have a residential component where they don't leave campus and receive kind of 24/7 care.
And how many students do you think we have in residential programs?
We have 1 student in a residential program.
And how about non-public agencies?
We have 3.
And then total students receiving special services?
We have 512.
So 512 students receiving special services have an IEP. And then there's a very small percentage in a residential program, public agencies. And then like, as Connor said, 16 students who are in adult transition.
Yeah, the team does a really good job. We think there's a high value in keeping students in their neighborhood school as much as possible. When we have to move to a specialized classroom, sometimes that moves them outside of their neighborhood school. So keeping them in neighborhood school and then in their community as well is a high priority. So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out the magic combination of supports that'll help kids stay with us.
In developmental preschool, 3 and 4 year olds.
Yes. Oh
So
my gosh, I apologize, Leslie.
at Hathaway, we have developmental preschool. So it's the only program that we have for developmental preschool is at Hathaway. And then those students will go from there to then their neighborhood
Sometimes, yeah.
school, but then if they're in life skills, and they're going to go to where the life skills programs are. And that happens to be a program where we're looking at those numbers, and we're always looking at the numbers. And so like next year, what are our life skills numbers looking? And so decisions that we need to make, like we're starting to look at, and when we talk about budgeting in January, like we'll have these conversations about programs because we might need to increase some of these programs.
Are we seeing a trend of an increase or a decrease? Or are we flatlining in terms of kids needing extra support?
Our total number of students that are qualified for services has slowly kind of ticked up, and then there's a combination of our total enrollment has slowly ticked down. And so what I look at is like our eligibility percentage. And so those kind of 2 things have allowed our eligibility percentage to kind of go up higher than what we would typically see. So we're at about 18% of students are eligible for services at our district. And typically we'd like to see that closer to like 15 or 16%.
Do you think that's an actual change in the students, like something is happening in the populace, or is that just a change in the metrics of like how students are evaluated?
I think it's a combination of students are coming to us with a higher level of need. And it is sometimes challenging to figure out what needs just require kind of the support that a school can provide and which needs constitute as a disability. So yeah.
Because an IEP is just IEP, like that's just a student probably that's going to be in like a like in gen ed, and they just need
All of our students receiving services in any of these options have an IEP.
Have an IEP. Okay. Sometimes
So-
I get confused about
All the acronyms.
the
Yeah,
acronym.
I know.
I'm like, I can't keep up with them.
And do we have any sort of best practice for limiting the number of kids or looking at the number of kids on an IEP per classroom? I.e., is there any data that shows if we've got, 30% of this class
Mhm.
needs additional support, is it negatively impacting the rest of the kids in the class? And we want to try and balance that number to more like 15% or just anything in that nature. I know they also have aides that support as well, but just I'm thinking about firsthand knowledge, right, of like kids that have outbursts more, et cetera. It's a distraction and we want them in the class, but at the same point, what's the impact to others?
Right. I guess there's a few pieces to that. Like one, principals and classroom teachers work each year at the beginning of the year and then throughout the year to balance classes. And balancing looks like a variety of things, right? And part of it might be looking at the level of support individual students need and how we can kind of spread the support across multiple classrooms, for example. Students, again, with IEPs, receive a variety of supports. They don't necessarily have behavior challenges, but they could. And some students that exhibit different behaviors might not have an IEP for a variety of reasons too, right? And so some students that might be wiggly in class, especially at those younger grades when they're just getting used to school, might not be eligible for services yet, or might not be eligible for a different reason, just because the team is working on other interventions prior to evaluating for services. But yeah, balancing classes is always kind of a puzzle, but there's no specific language around how many students with an IEP can or can't be in a class.
Well, because they vary so much, right? Is what I'm hearing. Like it could be behavioral, it could be academic, it could be a combo of both.
Yeah. And students receiving services by default are gen ed students. And so we have to start with them being in the grade level classroom 100% of the time, and then have team conversations around, is there a level of support that's needed that would require us to remove them from the grade level classroom. And so there's no scenario where a kid couldn't go to a third grade class because they have an IEP just because of the IEP. There would have to be a reason, and we would have to probably try time in the grade level class first and see that it wasn't successful with these supports in place already.
So the goal of this presentation was to give you some context to the different programs that we have within all of our schools. And so I think this is the continuum of services, like the push in supports, what that means, and knowing that you're not, like there's no exam for you at the conclusion of this, but just having context to these different programs and us communicating with you. Like I said, the example of life skills and those members, because we added a life skills program 2 years ago up at Cape. And prior to that, we didn't have one there. They were both at CRG. And so that's just one example. And so I appreciate the level of support that Connor provides our building principals who are managing those buildings and providing support in various ways along with the support staff. That includes paraeducators who are sometimes working individually with a student, or they're in a classroom supporting a teacher and specific students. So that's the idea of this presentation. If you have additional questions, I mean, there's a couple more slides that Connor's going to cover just some data. Before he does, I just want to just ask you, did you notice the graphics? Did you?
They look good.
They do look good.
They do look good.
Yes.
Well, it gave this, it helps me.
Aren't they kind of cute?
Yes, I like it.
Connor
A
made,
lot of our kiddos.
yes,
I mean,
Connor made them, and
I use Gemini. I used our little AI tool.
Oh, I see where you're going with
yes, thank you. So
Okay.
just
You gotta check
an
out the
example of, but these graphics, the cool thing about these graphics is it does help as the continuum of services. It's a nice graphic for representing those services. A lot of thought went into that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was saying, this helps me, this makes way more sense.
yes, right.
Like, I didn't realize that we had 5 and ABCD, all of those, like, that's a lot.
Right. Yep.
And yes, that is amazing.
And the idea of the
Like
IEP,
like the door at the
yeah, the IEP team, that team is crucial to meet annually to review all the goals and the accommodations and modifications that are built into that document. And the classroom teachers are aware. There's a support staff typically supporting individual students and groups of students. So yeah, it's that a lot of thought and planning goes into the support for these
That's a lot of
programs and
students.
students.
who's part of the IEP team?
It just depends. You're going to have a district representative, which is often the principal. It can be me at times, someone who can approve the allocation of resources, basically. And then you have a general education teacher. It could be one or it could be more, depending on like at the secondary level when there's multiple teachers supporting a student. And then it's the special education teacher, and then any related service providers that are on the team, like providing services or evaluating to see if services would be appropriate. So your SLPs, your OTs, your PTs, your school psych, if it's an evaluation.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the parent, obviously. And then the parent can bring people if they want people to join to support the conversation. So we have WISE community members, sometimes like they will join as well. Outside counselors or therapists. So some outcomes, just to kind of give you an idea. So again, these are our state assessment outcomes for this last school year. You can see the students without disabilities versus the students with disabilities. These are those that are receiving 2s, 3s, and 4s. Okay, so there's a pretty significant difference, right? And again, I'll reference back to our continuum of services. That blue bar represents our students that are speech only IEPs, so just receiving communication support, which is kind of our most minimal level of support, to our resource kiddos who are just getting maybe 30 minutes to an hour a day, all the way to our kids that are in life skills that are nonverbal, have a communication device, and are taking an alternative assessment, right? So there's a lot that goes into that blue bar that could be disaggregated out to show you kind of based on the different type of support, how they're doing. But in general, our students receiving services are performing much lower on the state assessment. Our attendance, we're talking about attendance. So our attendance is not quite as different, but the students without disabilities are regular attenders about 6% more than students with disabilities. And again, that folds into the idea of like some of our students are medically fragile. There's just additional complications sometimes with students who are receiving services that impact their attendance. And then these next two are actually kind of fun. So our kindergarten readiness is an assessment we give to our kindergartners each year. You can see in general, our kindergarten readiness scores have increased. This is, I think, directly related to our transition to kindergarten programming, that additional year during the 4-year-old year before kindergarten that we've been providing. But you can also see it really positively impacting our students with disabilities who are going into kindergarten. So one of our big hopes, again, is tracking our cohorts and seeing the payoff of, we started TK more robustly about 3 years ago. And so as those kids get older, we're hoping that kickoff in kindergarten, them being more ready, is going to pay off in the later grades when we look at our attendance and our state test scores and things like that. And then our graduation rates. So you can see again the graduation rates between students without disabilities and students with disabilities. And again, this is another area. If I went back even farther, you could see the students with disabilities at an even lower graduation rate. So we've made really good progress. And the goal is always for those 2 bars to be the same. And so we have gotten closer, and there's still work to be done. But I think that kindergarten readiness is a really positive trend. And then our graduation rate, specifically for our students with disabilities, is trending in the right direction. Questions?
Thank you for sharing this.
You need to
Okay.
go online.
Yeah.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we've got levy options presentation.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
let's do it. Coming up.
It is. Okay, let me just pull up.
Oh, this is your guy.
All right, so Shalise and Les are gonna be sharing some information with you regarding our upcoming levy. So we have educational programs and operations and capital levy. We're gonna be discussing both of those. And so I appreciate the work of the team on this. And so again, similar to the last presentation, if you have questions, at any point, just ask your question, or at the end, there's gonna be time for questions. So we so appreciate our community and the support that is provided in a variety of ways that we've talked about, specifically the levy. And so this information we're going to be sharing, again, this is our the first look for you at what we've put together for a future levy. And so we have some specific information. We're going to talk a little bit about our past and then the recommendation. So Shalise and Les. Are your mics turned on?
Great.
Okay, so we're gonna start on slide 2, which is just covering the basics of how our taxes are collected. So every 3 years so far, when the district is going out for a levy, first the board agrees to a resolution which gives us our levy annual amount and an estimated tax rate. Once that's approved, the ballot goes to the county treasurer and they put it out to the taxpayers to be voted on. If it is approved, then when the year comes and the assessed values come out for that year, the county is who calculates the tax rate based on the assessed values for that year. That tax rate is the assessed values divided by the total property. I said that wrong. That the tax rate comes up with the assessed values. I did say that right. Sorry. Divided by the tax rate. And that is what is actually taxed to your property. So when you get your assessed value statement, that times the tax rate, that divided by 1,000 times the tax rate is what you're taxed for the levy. So that's applied to each taxable property within the district boundary. And then when everyone pays their taxes, it goes to the county, and the county is who manages the funds for the districts.
Okay, so this first slide is just kind of like the basic principle.
Right.
So any questions about this slide? Okay.
Okay, so the next slide is just levies and bonds information. So we have our EP&O levy, which is one that we are trying to go out for. So the EP&O levy is educational programs and operations, and it's basically only for the learning environment. So that could mean anything, the buildings, what's happening within the buildings, operations, maintenance, teaching, curriculum, anything that helps the learning environment. It is a flexible revenue, so it's meant to supplement what we receive from our state basic education funding. Anything that is not basic education funded can be paid for using levy. And then it's subject to the levy lid law, which is there's a per pupil max collection, which goes off of our most recent finished school year. So 24-25 would be what 2026 calculation is based off of, where we ended with enrollment. And then it's increased every year by the CPI. So like the inflation, the max levy pupil amount. You can go out for a levy for up to 4 years. So you can have a max of 4 years collection. Historically, we've done 3 years. And then it's a simple majority, which means you need 50% plus 1 vote to approve.
Why do we do 3 instead of 4?
So the history around that, so that for most of the time that I worked, the 27 years that I worked here, the district has done 3 years. There was one time where we did a 4-year one, and in that 4 years, everybody forgot how to run a levy. And so we figured out that is too much time, and then everybody forgets what it is, and then the next time you run it, it's like, how do we do this again? Who does this thing? Wait, where's nobody knows where any of the pieces are. Yeah.
Except
It's
you.
just slightly too long. Yeah.
And I can say I personally like the 3 because I'm from a district who did it every 2, and it feels like you just did it and then you're going to it again, and it's very fast rotation. So 3 is. Okay, so any questions on EP&O? Just the overview. Okay, so the next one is the capital projects levy. So the common uses for this, which is what our district uses them for, is technology, safety, security, facilities, renovations, athletic fields, like we did our roof repairs and our HVAC. You can do parking. And you can collect up to 6 years for a capital projects levy. It does not have a levy lid law. And it is, again, simple majority, so 50% plus 1 vote. Questions on capital projects levy? Okay, so then the last one, which we are not going out for right now, but we have, is school bonds. So bonds are for buildings. It can be new construction or renovation, normally a large renovation of a building. You can have a bond for up to 40 years. Most times bonds are 20 to 25 years. And it is a super majority, which is why they're harder to pass. You need 60% plus 1 vote
And you need 40% participation compared to the last general election. So it gets a little confusing.
Can you use capital project levies to pay for renovations and new buildings?
You can.
If you can collect enough to do it,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about a
pretty
really, really
sizable chunk.
large construction project, so like the Jump to Guard project was about 46 million. Our tax base is probably not big enough to do that in a 6-year levy. It, like the inflation in costs means that you really can't be just setting aside money to try to do like a really huge project. There are districts that are doing things like elementary schools, like a more modest size building using a capital levy instead of doing a bond.
Thank you. So you can strategically plan for it, but a bond is really when you're gonna build kind of full school. Yeah.
And levies are for learning, bonds are for buildings, and it's one of the most common things that comes up when we get into the informational messaging that we'll be sharing with the community. People keep talking about them as a bond, and we need to keep reminding them this is not a 20-year commitment, it's 3 years. There'll be another opportunity in 3 years, so it's not like a super long-term commitment.
Okay, any questions? Okay. So now this recommendation right now. So what I think we maybe even identified this as options. So right now what we're presenting is one option. And what you see there is an election date of February 10th. So in February, there's a deadline for us submitting to the counties, the resolution that Shalice had mentioned. So December 12th. And here we are, the first board meeting of October. So we have a little bit of time as we're presenting this to you, this recommendation. And so as you're thinking about questions you have that you're asking now or the conclusion, and then we have a little bit of time for if you have asks about more information. But we are looking at a 3-year levy for the reasons, Jane, to your question and Les's response. So this is something that and the community has experienced, and for the main reason is just the people that organize this process, and so it makes sense to me. And so even though other districts choose to do 4, what we're recommending is 3, and then we're recommending an EPO and the capital levy. The graphics below, the idea of those represent examples of programs that we currently are offering. And this is a renewal levy. So I think the community appreciates, I believe our staff, our students appreciate these enrichment opportunities, these experiences that they have. That bottom left picture is music at the middle school. So that is something that we can offer because of our levies. Our EPO supports that, because that isn't something that the state funds, the staffing, the equipment necessary to run programs K-12. So, excuse me, TK-12, that we offer music to all of our students. All of them, TK to 5, take advantage of it. Then you get to middle school. That isn't necessarily, it becomes an elective, and then high school is an elective, but we have a lot of students that continue to access those programs. The next picture is Knowledge Bowl. So Knowledge Bowl is an example of an opportunity that our students have in the middle school and the high school because of the levy, because that is not something the state supports financially. So we have a staff member and we have transportation that's associated with that. Then we have art. So that was something that we highlighted last year that happened at Cape, which is we had a middle school student who has art working with an elementary student who also has art with Mrs. Yang, and then athletics. And then the far right is the Wizard of Oz, which is a musical, which that particular activity was a fundraiser, but there was also there's a staff member who supports that and who's responsible for that receives a stipend, and those are also students who experience drama, the classes drama in high school. So we so appreciate the support we've been provided from our community. And this is just highlighting the programs and then also the capital levy, the technology, and we'll do a little more detail about the capital levy. Any questions about this renewal?
I think that's a good word to use a lot, is renewal, because I think sometimes that can be confusing when talking to people. So
Right.
just a thought.
Yeah, we are highlighting what we currently have that we want to continue to offer.
Right.
And these are, and when you think about what our student reps said last year, like what did they remember?
Right.
What were those experiences?
It was,
And when you think about your own experiences, when I think about my experiences, it wasn't just the academics, there were the other things that were happening.
Yeah.
That drew me to attend.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But then just
Okay, so these are our regional tax rate comparisons. So this is based on the most recent tax year that has, that all the assessed values are out for. So that's the 2025 rates. So this is just comparing, our districts that are close to us. We did leave a few off. Longview and Battleground are not on the list because they don't have a bonds right now, which kind of skews their total rates, because these rates are an EPO levy, a capital projects, and a bond. And then I did note that I kept some on, Woodland, Kalama, Hawkinson, Litson, and Richfield also don't have capital levies. And you can see, except for, that they're all below us in the rates. So keeping in mind that they're missing a levy. They don't have capital project levy. So that's just where we currently are in the 2025 rates compared to other districts. And then looking at the 2027, we're proposing the rate of $3.43, and that's all three together. We'll go into detail in the next slides of what they're each made up of. And then it's still comparing to what we know, which is the 2025 rates, because we don't know what the districts might be going out for or getting approved.
So the reason we share this is primarily providing context to other districts in the county, and because this is something that will come up as we move closer to February. Okay, any questions about this particular slide?
Okay, so these are our prior levy tax rate comparisons. This is what was approved on the resolution for the 3 years by the taxpayers, and then what we actually have collected, with 2026 being an estimate.
Why the difference in what you actually collected versus approved?
Yeah, so when we go out for a levy, what's on the resolution, the amount is where we're capped. So if we say 9 million, we cannot collect more than 9 million. The tax rate is estimated because at that point, we don't have final assessed values for all 3 years. We only have preliminary values. And so that tax rate, we're not, 100% confident in. We also have a rollback for our EP&O levy that's based on our per pupil count.
Right.
So we can only collect so much. So as our enrollment goes down, the amount we can collect goes down, based on our enrollment reducing.
That's a key point, right?
That
For both of those, especially for me, it's just going like, okay, you're not just asking for 343 per thousand, because we all know property tax values are going to be really interesting next year. But it's like, we need $10 million. And we are only going to collect up to there. I mean, I think that's a really key talking point to get out to the community as we talk through this.
Right.
So our last resolution was 2024 through 2026. And there in red is the EP&O rates, which was the estimated $1.99. And then the capital project went from 21 cents to 84 to 85. You can see that that was increased because at the same time the bond rate dropped from $1.43 to 86 cents. And then in the next section, you can see what we actually collected. So the $1.99 so far wasn't realized. We collected $1.85 both years, with us not knowing 2026 yet. So I kept it at $1.99 so that I'm not just estimating. And then the capital projects levy was 20 cents to 81 to 81. So still a little bit lower than what we estimated. And the reason for that would be assessed values coming in higher than our estimate, reducing the rate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on that slide? Okay, so this one is our levy recommendation while seeing what the voters approved in this current coming up year of 2026 and showing our reduction. So our our levy recommendation is $1.95 from the $1.99. So we're going down 4 cents in the levy, and that's an estimated tax rate. And then further reducing for our capital projects levy from 85 cents, which was approved for 2026, to 62. And then there's no change in the bond.
And we feel confident that'll give us the funds that we need.
Yes, so in previous years, the amount that we put out, you know, for 2026, it was 11.5 at $1.99. We're not going to collect that because of the levy rollback. As our enrollment goes down, we can't collect the 11.5.
Yeah.
So, for example, in 2024, 9.5 million was approved by the voters. We only collected 8.5 because we were capped and we couldn't collect that additional $1 million. So we're trying to lower the tax rate to more show what we can actually collect instead of going out for a larger amount that we know we're not going to be able to collect.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so this next one is the same information, but showing you the actual amounts. So keeping in mind that the amount that we are listing, that is our cap. So for 2027, the 10.3 million, that would be our cap. And the $1.95 is our estimated tax rate that will be finalized when those assessed values are at. So for 2027, it would be 10.3. The EPNO levy and the capital projects levy would be 3.3. 2028 goes up a little bit, 10.8, and then a little bit more to 11.2, assuming inflation and costs, increase in salaries, all of that. Keeping it the $1.95, and the capital projects levy goes up a little bit each year too.
But if enrollment declines more than we expect, that number would drop.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a graph just on our EPNO levy. So this looks at school year that we just finished, so 24-25. And we're looking at our 5 buckets for how we use our EPNO levy. So the EPNO pays for student learning and staffing above what's provided by basic education. So that's typically substitutes, art, music, highly capable, special education, additional supports that we need to add. It also pays for health and safety. That could be our security supports, additional counselors, additional nursing than what's funded by basic education. And then we have instructional, which is professional development, secretaries, curriculum, additional learning resources. And then athletics and activities is all of our extracurricular, performing and fine arts, transportation for extracurricular. And then we have operations and maintenance. So fuel, vehicles, utilities, anything not funded by basic ed. So grounds and maintenance. Is there any questions?
Okay, so the final set of things is in that kind of bucket of money that we talked about within the capital levy. What are the things that we're trying to accomplish? And the board will remember, you know, as we talked over the course of this year, we took on a set of capital projects, which included the huge project, the high school roof, as well as boilers, carpet, a bunch of other things around our district. There are additional needs. We've grouped those together in 6 categories to try to kind of make it simpler to talk to people about. The biggest piece of these are safety upgrades. So these are things like lockdown notification systems in each classroom so that there are immediate notifications in addition to the PA systems in the event of a lockdown or other type of emergency. There's a security wall at Canyon Creek to kind of connect the two wings of the building together, so the courtyard is a more secure learning environment, and then a number of other kind of safety related things. It's investments in our athletic facilities, so resurfacing the tennis courts, working on our performing arts spaces, so like the theater lighting really needs work. It's working on heating and cooling systems. So we took on the boilers at the high school, but the air conditioner is also the same age that the boilers were. And we need to replace that. It's also the boilers at Cape and Canyon. Those are about the same age as the ones at the high school that we just took out, and the air conditioning at Cape and Canyon. Working on our parking lots. So we have really large parking lots at Washougal High School, Hathaway, and Cape Canyon. If you spend any time out there, you'll know that the parking lots are cracking. They have potholes because they need to be resurfaced. And this is a big chunk of money for that, as well as investing in our play structures. So the play structures at Gauze, Hathaway, and Cape Horn Sky. And as a reminder, even in our conversations around our optimization, those still function as neighborhood playgrounds. So those are used by families. So even in the event that we're reconfiguring how we're using our spaces, we still want those to be things that serve the community as play areas outside of the school day. And this would also be replacing the bark chips that are underneath the play structures with kind of a different type of material that's not as prone to kids getting splinters and then needing to, like they're just kind of a messy, like none of the principals like them. They get really sopping wet and they're gross when people fall on them. So replacing them with something that's more, maybe a more modern way of doing that. Working more on carpeting, doing some drywall repairs. I think the carpeting is at Washougal High School, and the drywall repairs are at CRG JMS, where the hallway walls are in need of some touching up and probably doing kind of a, I think it's wainscoting that goes on the walls that is a little more touch resistant. So when people bump into it, it doesn't get scratched and then need to be patched. And then finally, a continuation of our educational technology living, and then mixing in some of our security things. This would be adding in capacity for us to do things like replacing video camera systems, as well as the individual cameras that are around the district. We have somewhere around 150 security cameras in use. It's probably higher than that now around the district. They do fail over time, and there are some of those where we'd really like to be able to replace them with more modern cameras that can, see in more directions, have better pictures, those types of things. And then continuing our educational technology funding, which provides the one-to-one learning devices for students. The infrastructure that connects all of those devices out to the internet, and then the staffing that supports that. So our network support as well as tech support and our SIS are all funded with the ed tech levy. So that's a 1.2 million per year. So that's a yearly expense. The other things are ones within those 3 years.
Thank you.
So are the safety upgrades requirements? Like, is there like some standards that we have to meet or?
Yeah, there is a new set of like safety related standards. They're part of Alyssa's law, which I think was SB 5004, was passed, I think, a year and a half ago, that asked school districts and school boards to be working on improving the security kind of apparatus in schools, and then working really hard on notification systems to automate the process of notifying law enforcement, and then also providing notifications into classrooms. And so we would be, as part of that notification system, we'd be adding those notifications into the classroom and then making sure that those systems integrate in a way that law enforcement gets notifications directly. If somebody pushes either the secure or the lockdown button in one of the school offices or triggers at a different. So those are like those types of investments. We're like we have already made a bunch of those security investments over the last couple of years. That were one of the priorities within our last levy was to work on some of those and making sure we have the notification buttons, and then we're doing those consistently across all of our school sites. That helped working on our door access controls so that we can remotely lock exterior doors and make sure that in the event of a secure or a lockdown event, that somebody doesn't have to go physically lock doors, like go outside during a unsafe situation. Those are things that we've already done, and we're like partially like where we need to be. This would help us get kind of even closer to the ultimate goal around this. It would also do things around our life safety systems, so the fire alarm systems. There are some things that we could be working on which will help prevent like the false alarms that happen from time to time, as well as making, I think there's some connections that we can do with the fire department, being able to provide communication tools within the building. And when we start working on our fire alarm systems, we'll have to start doing some of that work. So there's like, I don't know how interested you're in that, but I know a whole bunch about it.
Great.
All right. So.
Yeah.
Take a big breath. Exhale, and so.
Bit stretch, maybe for just
Yeah,
a minute.
yeah. So can we go back to the one that shows the proposed levy amounts, the actual dollar amounts? I think this is worth repeating that, like, when you look at this, what we're asking for is less than what we asked for last time. And the rate is lower and the dollar amount is lower. And it's a replacement levy, but we're replacing it at a lower level, partly because we're serving fewer students. And then we've also worked really hard to narrow the list of things, particularly within the capital levy, to make it a lower rate, because we recognize that people are under a lot of pressure around property taxes, and then it's never fun to go out and ask people for money. We're making a conscious choice to ask them for less.
Appreciate that.
So I guess maybe I'm just confused. It says 10.3 million and then 3.3 million, but then the capital levy table says 9.7 million over 3 years. I guess I'm just trying to understand what number is what.
So if you go back to the one that you were on, so the one up here,
Yeah,
so the total of those three, the 3.3, the 3.4, the 3.5.
I see. That's the 9.7.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we are continuing to look at that, the capital levy projects, refining those. And when we look at, 3 years from now, if we're doing a project, and then what the cost is going to be, and trying to determine what's additional increases do we need to make on those estimated costs. And we're not solely relying on the capital levy. We appreciate the support. We're also looking at grants that are out there. We also have lots of people saying, hey, we want to help. So how do we help with athletic field? So my understanding is there's several parents who want to help with at the high school with the softball and baseball field. So how can they help? There's a variety of ways that they can help. So we're continuing to look at different ways to meet the needs that we've identified. And so I appreciate the work this team is doing and your input, your feedback as we look at this decision. Anything else that you need from us, please let us know, because we want this to be provide you with information. I think this is a good start.
Yeah.
And what we'll be doing is planning if this is approved, then there's going to be starting to communicate out with the greater community. What we're hoping to see happen is the support for these projects. Okay.
So the work group that's meeting next week, or is that going to be talking?
So this presentation is going to be shared with our district leadership team Monday, and then on Wednesday. Yeah, we're gonna part of that 90 minutes is going to be going over this information. I think this is important, along with our enrollment for this year and where we ended up with this, where we are right now with our enrollment, where we thought we were going to be, and then talking about this levy. I think it would be a good place to start with that group.
I'd be curious. I want to be on vacation, but I'd be curious to hear what their feedback.
Great. So what I'll plan to do is provide our next board meeting. Just kind of how that,
Yeah.
how that
I'm
would
curious.
yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Outstanding.
Big breath.
Yes, well, you know what, please stand up. Yeah, move around a little bit as I set up for the next presentation.
Somebody to
You know,
pop me
I
up
really
soon.
miss Miss Tracy right now and her candy bowl. I'm not gonna lie, guys. That for Eric. I you have her old office, so
Don't have that.
you're gonna have to. No,
Candy
I'm
bowl
just
skills?
kidding. I bought Costco candy and I've opened it.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, why do I do that?
That's amateur hour.
I heard on the radio that people go through about 2 bags of Halloween candy for Halloween.
They have to restock.
Yeah.
That would be me. My husband's like, why do you do that? I'm like, well, I was at Costco. He's like, guarantee you're gonna go again before Halloween. I'm like, well.
Oh,
It's not my advice.
And I was thinking if I made like but I like all candy. I'm not opposed to any type. I like the gummy kitty, the gummy kind.
You know what, this is like when I look at her picture before.
And the sour apple, caramel apple, Werther's things. Oh, come on, who invented those? I mean, thank you, but oh, they're so good.
I would take it.
And now it's I don't know if it was all the trees. They're gone. That's the thing. He's adorable pictures that I got.
We have it on. I'll just look on the phone, just,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're.
don't think you need to put it on. Because I think we all log in. Well,
I
maybe Paul.
I was.
I will ask.
It was adorable.
Because there's been an expectation previously, so I just, just trying to, but you know what?
Yeah, I think both Jim and Chuck really appreciated having the paper copies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if you want to speak on behalf of it.
because it's actually a lot of times.
I'm good without paper. I hate
All right,
paper.
thank you. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Sharing,
Not Paul's glaring over
thanks for
there.
sharing what you hate.
it depends on what we're talking about. Sometimes I do like the paper.
Get on board, man.
Yeah.
I do keep.
I read it all. I mean, it's all on
the.
the board docs.
You like being able to do some notes.
All right,
Yeah.
well, our next
And I'm trying
presentation,
not to bring.
next presentation is the ends report. And so Les, Connor and I are going to share some information with you. This is an annual event that we provide identified metrics that were part of the strategic plan. And so you do not have a hard copy of this. If that's something you desire, I can make sure you get a copy. So this first slide is our previous plan. So that it concluded, it sunsetted last year at the end of 24-25. It was the 6th year. So we had 6 guiding pillars. And as you see the vision statement, so our data is going to be based off of last year, 24-25. And then we will be discussing a little bit at the end of this presentation, the next 6 years and our current strategic plan.
So just a reminder, the Washington School Improvement Framework is one of the ways the state lets us know how we're doing. Each of our schools receives scores across, well, these domains here kind of get culminated into scores across some demographics. And so this is what the state uses to identify students who need some, or schools that need some extra support, right? So we have 2 schools right now that are identified as receiving extra support. Previously, there was funding and technical assistance associated with that support. There is no longer anything associated with that support. So it's just a label at this moment in time. We also have a variety of schools that have received commendations for the work that they've done around improving student outcomes and things like that. So just a reminder, that's what the Washington School Improvement Framework is. You can see an example here in the next slide of what it looks like from a building's perspective. So this is the 3-year cycle view. You can see 3 years across a variety of different demographics. It's color coded. Orange is bad. Gray is good. It's a scale of 1 to 10. So the goal is to move the composite score up as high as possible. And you can see Jump to Guard, this is their example. The goal is to see growth, right? Whether it's orange or gray, right? We would like to, over the course of kind of that 3-year cycle, see improvement in each of those kind of different categories that the state is tracking.
And what is a bit of a challenge is we feel like we are always waiting for these data points.
Right.
And then this particular graphic to be updated, which happens in February, in March for the previous year to continue the 3-year cycle. So the 2022 year will drop off. We'll introduce 2025. We know the information. We just don't create a graphic that looks similar. We wait for the state to provide that before we publish this information. So to Connor's point, we're looking for trends, a trend upward, and we're looking for dark gray is the goal. And so you see some of that, and you see specifically some areas where we see a trend upward, and then we see it's inconsistent, and then we see the direction going the other way.
So some of the more responsive data that we have, right, is what we'll kind of review right now. Again, it's associated some with the previous strategic plan. So this is our SBA data for English language arts from the 2021 school year up till the most recent 24-25 school year. So you can see for 3rd grade in green, 8th grade in blue, and 10th grade in that orangish color, how our students have been doing across kind of a 5-year period of time. Again, I would like to highlight the high school has some really positive numbers for English language arts. And then we have some areas to improve in the 3rd grade area. Questions about that?
I am curious, like there's a big jump between 3rd and 8th grade, and I'm having seen these tests, they're grade level based, but it seems like across the entire time, 3rd grade always did performed at a lower level than the other grades. Is that common or is that unique to us?
It's not unique to us. 3rd grade is the first time students take state assessment. And so, well, it's hard to say like what is the reason. I think it's a combination of developmental age of students taking standardized assessments. The first time they're taking standardized assessments, that scale is at 3rd grade. And students' exposure to curriculum, again, just increases the longer they're in school and they're able to acquire more complex concepts. And so we see that culmination of knowledge as it hits the later grades.
So I guess I'm just confused. Why would they design a test that the kids are not able to pass that? Like, would they design the test so that kids could be successful in the test? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the idea of we are trying to figure out what levers we need to adjust as a district to improve our scores, right? The idea that 3rd grade is the first year students take the test is one aspect. The other piece is looking at the curriculum that we are providing to our teachers and therefore our students. And the 3rd piece is looking at the instructional practices that our teachers are utilizing with the curriculum. Like I can give them an evidence-based curriculum that's aligned to the standards, that has research-based alignment to the state assessment and positive outcomes when implemented to fidelity. And I can have it implemented instructionally in a way that's not effective. And so we've kind of got to be able to braid all of those things together so that we have an effective approach to getting students reading by 3rd grade, because that's a really clear benchmark where students need to be able to do that in order to be successful moving forward.
And is this 2 3s and 4s or 3s and 4s?
It's just 3s and 4s.
So this is just, so a 4 point Right, so met, meeting and exceeding, or meeting and.
The 3s and 4s is what is considered college ready from OSPI's perspective. 2, 3s and 4s are considered foundational knowledge. So you are at grade level if you are getting a 2, 3, or 4.
These are 3s and 4s.
Your 3s and 4s, which is previously OSPI just reported 3s and 4s, and most recently they adjusted their scale to say that 3s and 4s are college ready, and 2, 3s and 4s are foundational. So you'll see kind of a little bit more about that later too.
Which is because of a recognition that Washington was holding itself to a higher standard than almost every other state that was using the SBOM. So they were really pushing the, college for everyone, which we do want to be opening those doors for all of our students. But recognizing that not every state is holding itself to that same level. The state has shifted the way that they publish the scores to offer both ways of looking at it. The previous strategic plan predates that, and so all of our goal metrics are based on this, just looking at college readiness.
Math.
So same structure with math, 5 years for 3rd grade, 8th grade, 10th grade. This is obviously our focus area for this year and future years too. We've made a number of investments in math, specifically in our curriculum and our interventions. We are leveraging our LAP coach who's focusing in math to support students in this area, and also to support our principals in coaching teachers, because they are the ones that are going to classrooms on a regular basis and seeing what instruction looks like, and they are the closest to the classroom and able to make those instructional adjustments with their staff the easiest. So again, the goal would be to see those students receiving 3s and 4s increase. The goal also is just to kind of the conversation around just goals in general, to see incremental progress in the right direction, right? So we want those trends to start to tick up, and we want to continue to capitalize on incremental progress in the correct direction.
Science.
So science is more consistent, as you can see across the board. We are doing very well in science compared to our comparable districts. Highlight is Canyon Creek Middle School, who have 75% of their students receiving 3s and 4s. And if you add in the 2s, they're at about 90% of their students receiving 2s, 3s, and 4s. So they're doing a really, really good job as a science team up there, instructing students and then having it translate into the state assessment. So this is just this most recent year, and this is broken into what we mentioned previously, the 3s and 4s in green and the 2s, 3s, and 4s in blue. So you can see kind of that increase when you add the 2s into the equation. And again, the 2s are indicating foundational grade level knowledge. So that was academics. Our student discipline, so these are exclusion rates. Again, included the 2021 school year, and we can all guess why the numbers are so low there. But since then, I've mentioned before when I've talked about student discipline, we've done a nice job as a district minimizing the number of students that are excluded outside of the classroom. We're hovering at about 2.3% of our student population has received an exclusion. And you can see the middle school has done a really nice job of adjusting their practices and providing support so that students are excluded less often. It is still a tool that building principals can utilize, but it is used in conjunction with a variety of other proactive supports that are helping students stay in class.
So attendance was also one of our goal areas. Here's a 4-year trend of attendance. The definition of attendance for this is students attending, it's roughly 90% of their classes, so no fewer than 2 absences per month, and it's measured per student. And then this is the percentage of all of the students that are either meeting that goal or not meeting that goal. All of our buildings are working on attendance. We see this as an area where we strongly believe that when students are with us, they are more able to engage in the learning. And they can benefit from that. And if we can increase our attendance rates, particularly at the secondary level, we probably can see gains in our academic achievement.
This one's mine. Okay, so graduation rate you see from 2020 through 2025. The reason 2025 doesn't have an extended, that green is the fifth year or the next year, because we have students who stay with us if they don't meet graduation rate. We talked about students in the adult transition program. Typically, those students stay more than 1 year. This is specifically for maybe a student who didn't meet the graduation requirements, that needed additional year, and sometimes 2 years, and sometimes even 3 years. So that is just, the green is just what the next year students who stayed with us and completed the graduation rate. So you see in 2024, our graduation rate was 89.6. For 2025, it's 86.7. And so what goes into that is, what is the cohort? What was that denominator? Then how many of the students, the numerator, met the graduation standard? So we see a drop. Our principal, high school principal, will talk about that drop. I provide a little bit of context to that drop. So our goal is 90% or better, which is as a school district, we've hit what I can track is that's happened twice. That continues to be our goal. What I appreciate is students stay with us. If they don't complete, many of them stay with us, and then they eventually do complete your graduation requirements. And then this is looking at comparing our students who identify as Hispanic Latino versus our students who identify as white. And so for 24-25, you see that the students who identify as white, 90.4% graduation versus Hispanic Latinos. Students who identify as Hispanic Latinos at 3.5. And you see from 2021 to 2025, that gap that exists. So we're continuing to look at how do we support students in these where we see that there's a gap that exists. And so there's a number of things that we are doing as a district to support families and students. Connor identified earlier there's between our students who receive special services and students who don't receive special services. And there's a gap there as well, discrepancy. So we continue to look at how we can best support all of our students. The last one is AP results. So again, this was something that was identified with our previous strategic plan. Just a little bit of information about our students who choose to take advanced placement. Did you hear today with our student reps? So they identified, I think every one of them has at least one AP course. So along with that course is an exam that happens in May. If they get 3, 4, or 5, depending on the university where they're planning to go, they can get college credit. We also are offering college in the classroom in more classes now than we have previously. But you see a trend that's a favorable trend, right? As far as students receiving 3, 4s, and 5s. And then there's a list of our AP classes. Now there is a challenge right now with these dual credit opportunities, which AP is one of those. Also with college in the classroom. And what a student gets with a college in the classroom, 5 credits versus potentially what they might get, depending if they got 3, 4, or 5. So that is something that we are looking at and trying to balance those. So we are offering a number of AP classes as well as college in the classroom.
That's a big percentage jump. That's awesome.
It is a nice jump, isn't it? Yes. And then this is looking at students who are taking an AP course, and then students who are taking a test. So the comparison of taking the test and taking the course. So the total number you see isn't consistent. Cohort size also has an effect on that. And then seeing an increase in the number of college in the classroom classes, we may continue to see there might be a change in that number of AP tests being taken. The college in the classroom, the students aren't paying the tuition. The state is paying the tuition. AP tests, the families are paying the AP test fee. All right, so that was the previous strategic plan and metrics associated with that plan. So we're gonna shift to our new plan, where we have 3 goal areas, and you see that wonderful graphic on the right. So associated with this plan, we have similar metrics. We've identified those. Those are, if you go to our website and you look for the strategic plan, Les has done a really nice job of starting to update of the data that we've identified within each one of these goal areas. And we're providing not just 1 year, but multiple years, with the idea being we're going to see increases in those areas after the school year. Now, similar to other data points, we don't always have the data that we're tracking when we need it. Because the state, we identify sometimes with these are metrics, the state is providing the data and we publish it once we have it from them. Okay, anything you gentlemen want to add to this slide here? No, do you have any questions regarding the ends report? So clearly we've got areas we're working on.
Yes.
Right, and we're seeing, and you're going to hear from our principals what they are individually working on within their buildings. So you're going to hear from the elementary principals first, and our secondary principals next, and they're going to be talking about the things that they're highlighting that we're excited about, and things that we're not excited about, that we're identifying in the areas that we're working on. And then when we give a chance to go into a building, you're gonna see in those visits, like we did last week when we went to Cape and Canyon, and we saw in grades 4 and 5 at Canyon, they were working on math. And they were talking about being mathematicians. So what mathematicians do is they share their thinking, they world computers. And they were using IXL and they were using the new curriculum. And we know that because that curriculum came with books that they were writing in. And it comes with an application that's connected to their iPads. And they were during win time, which is what I need time, they were working on their math fluency. So we are working on it. It's a focus. And when you go to Cape Canyon, which is our first visit, if you're able to go there, you're going to see that happening. All right, questions? All right.
Lively group.
Thank you so much.
2.5 hours in.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know one asked me to what questions I had. Thank you, guys. All right. We have our executive responsibility 11, which is communication and counsel to the board.
Yes.
Do we have any?
Sorry, I'm just
Do you
trying
have-
to.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Okay. So yeah, first executive responsibility 11. So you have it. Do you have any questions about executive responsibility 11, which the information I shared with you today regarding the agreements that we're making regarding within that document, that has a lot to do with this, and as well as just me communicating with you, keeping you updated with what is happening. Any questions? All right. Then we'll go to the next one, communications with the public, executive responsibility 12, which you also received, which was updated. Any questions about ER 12?
Pretty straightforward. Ready?
All right. Thank you.
We've got our new policy 2010.
Yes, so 2010. And so I do have a little bit of information that I'm going to share with you. Just what you need is another Google presentation.
Yeah,
I know.
I was
know.
hoping.
I'm glad. So personal devices. So you just on the screen, you actually have a copy in front of you.
This is very soon.
I know. Let me grab the last one.
So a little bit of information. So we sent out this survey and we've received, the last time I checked, it was nearly 900 responses.
Good on those students.
Isn't that fantastic?
I love that.
Right?
That's
So
very
we have
cool.
found a topic that people are interested
Yeah.
in. We had a lot of responses to this, and many of them are students. We heard firsthand from three of our high school students. So yeah, of the 896, 516 were students. That's amazing. So what was identified? So this is where that graphic and the summary of the most frequently identified negative impacts don't necessarily align, but this was these were identified in order. So the number one negative aspect or impact is increased bullying, harassment, and or intimidation. So cyberbullying as a result of cell phone use. So again, those were all listed. So then the idea being the memory impacts, depression, increased self-harm, those were identified. They just were not the right. These are in order as they were identified, but many individuals identified those as well. So then we get to a summary of the positive impacts. So there were some positive impacts regarding having access to a cell phone that are identified there, increased access to healthcare, including counseling, peer relationships, improved motivation, job, career readiness, and then improved self-image and their confidence. The graphic on the right is, there was one of the questions was about the previous policy changes. So this really an increase in or an expectation of less cell phone use by students, mostly at middle and high school. So last year we started, and we really, even though we've had a policy, for several decades regarding telecommunications devices, we've seen this increase over the last 15 years regarding cell phone use. And so the last year we really started with, let's mitigate the impact of the distractions of cell phones by saying students put them away. So this was a question specifically about the device policy that we started last year. And you see not helpful is a 0 to 1 to extremely helpful, which was a 5. So yellow, parents, big support for
And staff.
And staff.
staff, what we were seeing as far as, asking students to keep their cell phones put away and not use them during class time, in some cases at all. And then you see the blue is the students. So you see it, which was to be expected, right? That's not a surprise in what we heard today.
Right.
Although I don't know that we really asked them this specific question. They were talking about specifically what they're seeing at the high school. So I found this to be a very interesting information. Appreciate those that helped. And then we get into this graphic is about just at the elementary school level. What are we? What's the expectation if we were to continue with this in this policy? Like, how much do we want to see our elementary students using phones?
Right.
And really, it's overwhelming. Not.
Yeah.
Elementary students should not have their students out of, if they have them, they shouldn't be out of their bags during the day. They should not be used. So that was pretty dominant in the feedback from the survey. Then we get into middle school, and it's not so identified like it was in the elementary school that we're seeing a change in that level of restriction that I think there's that first restricted use just to during recess and lunch. Many were in favor of that, and then devices off and in the backpacks. There's still a fair number that are saying they should just be away completely in the middle school. They should not come out. There is this idea about if it's a safety concern, right? If it's something's identified in the student's IEP or their 504 plan, and we certainly were going to be following 504 plans, IEPs that have those specific accommodations,
Right.
modifications. And then no devices at all. So 56 were supported no devices at all. So again, we see from elementary to middle, the idea that as students are getting older and they probably have phones, majority of them, the level of use in the school. So at this point, thoughts, wonders.
Does this include the students' responses?
It does. It does. It's just not, and we can, I can tease that out of there. And I think one of the slides I have does identify.
So we've got
those different groups.
46.9% say they either shouldn't have them at all or shouldn't have them out at all.
Yes.
Is that what I'm reading?
For middle school,
8.3 and 38.6, right? Am I doing my math? 46.9? Yeah. So the majority view that they either shouldn't have them at all or shouldn't have them at all. Okay.
and then high school,
switches.
Yes,
No.
this is where we start.
Said that right. Middle school, they should have them in their backpacks or should be able to use them during recess or lunch.
No, I'm adding up the red and the blue.
Oh,
So blue
sorry,
is
I
not
thought
at
you
all,
said-
red is
Sorry, I thought
not
you
have
said
them.
the.
No, I was saying, so we actually have more that say they either shouldn't have them at all or shouldn't have them.
I
at
see what
all
you're saying. I see
Versus
what you're saying.
recess.
Okay. That makes sense. I was like, no.
And they don't, middle school, they don't have recess.
Yeah.
This is lunch, right? Connected
Yeah.
to lunch is time. With their friends and then passing time.
Yeah.
So then high school, 51.3% said students should be able to have devices, but only use them during. They don't have recess. That's our survey. So they have passing time.
Yeah.
And they have before school, when they're in the buildings, they have lunch, yes. And then 19.1% should be able to have them, basically anytime. So from this survey, and again, almost 1,000, I bet, as we keep it open, we will continue to get more
Yeah.
feedback from individuals. This, I know there's a lot of text here, but this is to Ida's question. So this, what the students said specifically to in each level. So now that the students, I'm not able to determine the age or grade of the students. But our middle and high school students completed this. But this is what they've identified. And then staff and what parents shared. So we were able to break that out by group. And then finally, a summary from the open responses. So the last question was just anything you want to share in regard to this expectation or this policy. And so when you take all of those open response statements and summarize it, what we see is there's a safety and emergency concern, which has been some of the loudest concerns have been around. I want to know when something is happening. I want to be able to reach out to my student. Then what we heard today was different levels of enforcement.
Yeah.
And consistency of that. And the challenge with that, and whatever the rule is, right? Where there's inconsistency, where there's a challenge with the enforcement, we're going to see inconsistent results because of that. And we heard that today from just 3 students on what's happening. Now, when we're in buildings, like I'm not seeing phones, like when we're visiting, and I'm in classrooms and buildings a lot. So I am not seeing a lot of use, but I'm also not like the student sitting there and I'm not looking specifically for do students have cell phones on their laps? Are they in their pockets? Because they can be really strategic with that.
I feel like when the superintendent's in the hall, we're probably not gonna. pull
There's a
this
pretty good
up, right?
chance, there's a pretty good chance that might be a possibility. I'm also looking for earbuds. And just as you had pointed out, like where are our phones sitting? And so,
It's a habit.
it is, yep. The idea of instruction distraction, clearly, learning loss, that's the research. That's what we're concerned about is like where's the attention of our students when it's they're in the classrooms and it's time to learn, appropriate use. And that's kind of what we were hearing from the students saying, I love to listen to music. So can I be able to listen to music when there's an opportunity for that? And so when we think about what's happening at the high school, it's 50 minutes. I think the middle school is probably 55 minutes, that instructional time. And how much time do you have where you're not engaging with your peers or with your teacher? And so, that the policy that we have creates, there's some flexibility there that we specifically are looking at each grade level.
Right.
And I think some of the challenging discussions are going to be about, like, as they get older, what level of like autonomy do they have with that decision? And what we're seeing is, and what we want them seeing, what I want to see them doing in classrooms is engaging in conversations with each other. And so can you do that if you're listening to your, with your buds? And the answer is no, not successfully. As much as people, I think, want to believe about multitasking and the gift they have, I don't think that's,
It's a very slim.
I think so.
margin of people that could
Yes,
actually do
yeah.
that.
So anyway, what we're looking at is how do we best support our students in realizing their full potential and planning for their future, and then where does this policy support their success by mitigating the distractions? Okay, thoughts, questions, wonders?
God, I know we're at the end. Sorry, guys. I am incredibly opposed to having cell phones out at all in middle school. And my reasoning behind that is all of the data, regardless of what studies you're looking at, show that the more time correlated with age that kids are spending on their phone, the worse the results, both in their attention span, in their ability to interact socially, as well as the distraction. And I have yet to see any concrete value add from saying, hey, instead of hanging out with your friends at lunch, get on your phone. We heard from principals last year how much they were enjoying the fact of like, when we go to lunch, people are face to face. There's less opportunity for bullying because that does happen with our phones, right? Taking pictures of people when things are happening. At the high school, I feel a little bit different, right? They're getting much closer to being launched into the real world. I get it. There's more outside forces that they need to be arranging rides with friends, et cetera. But at the middle school, I just don't see any value in them having it. I'm fine with them in their backpack, but I don't see any value with them having it during non-instructional time.
I would agree with that because I've noticed this year that a lot more kids have their phones out during their lunch break. Because I was just there for Husky Bookstore, so I'm there for both lunches, and I noticed they were either on their phone or on their Chromebooks. And I think that, as the weather changes, I get it, like there's not a lot of things to do, but I also think Mr. Cook, he puts a lot of options out there. They could go in the gym, they could do other things. So I kind of do agree with you on that. Don't tell my son that, but.
Excellent point about the Chromebooks. They are gonna have their Chromebooks.
Yep.
Right, they are gonna have them.
So they will still have them,
Yep.
but
Until the end of the day when they plug
When
in.
they have to give it, but I want to take it home and keep working.
Okay,
great.
thank you for that feedback.
Anything else good?
I did appreciate our students, one of them identifying, there's gonna be a cost to, like, there's different devices
I don't think we
the
need.
districts are investing in. And that is not something that I'm interested in pursuing. I understand the reason. I also think that there's like you said, the majority of students, I think, have a backpack.
Right.
I'm fine if it's even in their
Yeah.
pocket, right? Like it doesn't bother. I just don't have it out on your desk.
You have more impulse control though if it's vibrating, then well, hopefully you have more impulse control than if it's
check it.
like,
Yeah.
seventh graders.
All right, so second reading with this policy and then our next meeting.
Yeah, I think we're close to adopting it, right?
Yeah. So when I can continue to provide updates with the results, if that's something you'd like to see, or if you want to see them completely, I can share those with you. And I got a little assistance with Gemini in some of the summaries and the graphics.
Love it.
Because Les has helped us. So we have access to, and it's very helpful.
I don't
And
think
so,
I don't think they're gonna ship the whole lot, even if you get 100 more.
I didn't notice that from when we had 500
Yeah.
to now almost 900 or almost 1,000. Agreed. That we're not, at this point, we're not seeing a lot of,
Deviation.
yeah.
But we also have some ammo when we do go out there, like, hey, we heard from 1,000 people. Like this isn't just 5 of us saying, put your phones away.
Right. Yeah, I feel good that we can say that we received a fair amount of, but
I definitely want to see the breakdown of the parents.
Versus the kid.
Parents and staff versus the kids for
Okay.
each of those. Like that's what
Yes.
I'm interested in
Okay.
is.
Yep.
Not that I don't love kids and think they have great ideas, but my kids would eat candy every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I let them. So,
all right. Thank you.
I need to get a motion to close our meeting.
I will move to close out the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
I
Aye. Done.